here for IMT. They've got a lot of strength when you get to those 15-minute, 20-minute fights. If you're looking at those objectives, if you go into there even, the damage traded back by Keith though onto Poom. That's a runaway as well.
That is. Now, Nocturne got spotted out, unfortunately, on a ward coming in here, so they were able to play it defensively enough between Keith and Joey to get away from that. So the plan was there, foiled, however, from the side of Joey and Keith, making sure the aggression's not going to be there, as it's an immediate cross map from Kenby to come up to top side, maybe look for what will be the top camps, and clearing up towards Tenacity, who could be, again, another one of these members you could attack. It's really good side lanes to attack when you consider who it is that you've got there, when you've got, like, Set and Rel, two very high CC targets, to pair with the likes of the Nocturne. At minimum, if that Nocturne is going to get into that lane, probably going to force a flash.
Yeah, and you see that path there, a little bit of farming coming out from Kenby. I really like this on the map. You got to see Pollock looking for Demonte in the mid lane, but Silas is a slippery fellow. Get out of those situations pretty quickly, and it's just gonna be a continuation of farm here. No real fighting, no real skirmishing, still 0-0 past 8 minutes, but we do have that one objective secured by Immortals Academy, and another 3 minutes for the next dragon. We do have a Rift Herald, and that's what I want to focus on here. I would love to see one of these teams try to take this Rift Herald, try to up that tempo a little bit.
Could be the play. Topoon now is responding to a TP that comes out from Tenacity, where he gets a Vamp Scepter and as well as a pair of boots. And the Bramble Vest doesn't make it super easy to heal up from the damage that comes through from Sion. The bigger thing is mid lane now. Sion's ult's here.
Unstoppable coming. He's gonna try. Oh, Topoon just a little bit too close to that wall. Is not going to connect there into the mid lane, but did get that nice roam. Got that communication. Kenby getting knocked up here. I don't know if that's exactly the play. Paranoia comes out. The shockwave available for Demonte, but Kenby getting very, very low. First blood goes over to Topoon. Demonte wants to follow it up. Going to get knocked up here, dragged out. Demonte very, very low. Doesn't have the Kingslayer, and that's a 2-kill lead developed by Immortals Academy.
Man, okay, so I want to give a ton of props to Topoon. For a minute here, when we see the replay, we'll get a chance maybe to talk about it, but what a play right there. This is the aggression. It was not off of Potluck, but instead off of a Topoon roam. He ducked into Fog of War right here, and they thought he had backed, which is why Tenacity doesn't move. Kenby moves in here to put some aggression, but more so, I think, just to fix the wave, as Demonte is forced to flash right now, and then these two are able to win the fight afterwards, even without the shockwave, because, again, no vision. Kenby walks directly into the queue. They never saw Sion leave. Like, you know,
but he knew.
There. Yeah, and then afterwards, of course, it was very close as, like, Envy nearly gets the kill, and then the stun up was actually huge from Demonte, but no mana left, which means you can just run him down at this point, too. These champions are able to get the kill onto Demonte and the shutdown necessary to get Pretty a little further ahead. This whole play was an attempt for Rift Herald. They just wanted to shove out mid lane and make sure that that wave was gone so they could move Tenacity, who didn't have a lane opponent, into the Rift Herald pit, but instead, they find themselves collapsed on by the likes of Pretty and Topoon, and this early lead goes to the side of IMT.
And we get the lane swap coming out, going to that top side for Luger and Poom. We're getting the Tenacity Topoon fight in the bot side now. And I do really like the movements from both these teams, but man, Immortals Academy just had the heads-up play, and unfortunately for Kenby, just gets caught out in that situation. But I love the synergy we're seeing from Pretty and Topoon, especially the mechanics that we saw early on from Pretty in those moments on that Orianna with that shockwave, with those movements. Yes, it did not connect, at least for the shockwave, but Demonte was forced to flash and led to all the other wonderful things that came to fruition for Immortals.
That it did. As first ultimate for Nocturne, not going to find too much. Exhaust was also burnt, which means Kenby can't really step into the river. No flash and no exhaust means it's kind of difficult. As top lane, it's going to get shoved in. That's to be expected. Tristana has much better clear, and it was Rift Herald that got looked at, and it was taken here by Potluck. So they used that, and they're just going to drop it mid immediately. I think they're going to use this to try to not only pull plates, which is defensed against by the side of 100 Thieves. They could look for a dive, and Dragon is also on the board here in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, they've got 5 members here. Tower is not going to go down just yet. Keith trying to get a couple last autos in, but Demonte wants to go in. Actually uses the Onslaught of Shadows out of there, as Demonte didn't want to get caught by the rest of Immortals Academy, but the tower still stands, Rebel.
It does. able to keep that one up. The shift into Dragon is the far more important bit. As the Rift Herald gets a bunch of gold, this is looking like a far better version of Immortals. See, this is what I wanted in Game 1. They find early advantages across the map. They confirm a couple of kills. It's not around Potluck, but it was around their world top laner here in Top Boon. They're able to come into bottom side, and they snag away this Dragon as well. Everything coming up Immortals at the moment, and now even Top Boon's going to be able to save a couple of plates on top side, preventing Luger and Boom from getting any additional gold to come into this game with.
It's always just so impressive how much Danon can do. Like, it's honestly so impressive. First tower does finally fall for Immortals Academy. They get that mid lane outer tower. Looking at this bot lane now as they've been roaming a couple members down here, and Tenacity is all by his lonesome. This could be a nice little dive being set up by Immortals Academy. See what Tenacity can do to deal with it. There's the face breaker. Paranoia comes out. Doesn't even have the showstopper to go off there as he was stunned down, CC'd up, and taken out.
TP might have been a bit much, but I do appreciate, again, IMT. They're finding these aggressive plays across the map, finding dive to work right there. Not even a Haymaker ends up getting thrown, unfortunately, by Tenacity, as the fully charged W might have been able to keep him alive a couple more seconds, as it's just now a cover coming in. So topside gets covered by Top Boon as he ults top and then was able to clear the rest of that wave. And then Tenacity comes into bottom lane, gets bullied off by this combination of Trist and Braum, which makes sense. There's a lot of CC, good amount of damage there. And the dive now earns a couple more plates as well as a kill against Tenacity. IMT ripping away control of this early game. This is where we wanted them to be in the previous one, and they've fixed the mistakes that they've had. The standard compositions got pretty ahead. You got the early game pressure. You got the first two dragons. This is everything that IMT has wanted.
Yeah, it is night and day comparatively to that first game. You just feel like they're feeling a lot more comfortable here on this blue side with this composition they've gotten for themselves. Also, feel pretty confident with Pretty's 40 CS lead in the mid lane, I gotta say.
You're pretty confident, you said?
Yeah. I know what I did.
Yeah, somehow this joke never gets old, and yet it was old when we first said it. But,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, part of it comes down to, like, you have the interaction between Orianna and the likes of the Sylas, where, like, Sylas has got kill pressure, and the only way really to break Sylas out is to try to fight or force flash away from Orianna. None of that pressure has come through because you went for kind of a weaker early game jungler, looking for the level 6, looking for some of those ganks with the ultimate, and just hasn't come through from Kenby. It's not that the fight's not there. Again, when this composition puts its pieces together, there's some really mean combinations that can come out from, like, a Nocturne ultimate, a Tenacity ulting a Scion into the other team, and the damage threats aren't really there super, like, heavily. When you think Orianna, Shockwave is the big one, and then Tristana. If you bring down one of those two, especially if the Shockwave hasn't been used yet, the fight does look a lot more approachable from 100 Thieves, but this game just gets harder and harder as IMT has played for this early game. You get your carries into a good place, and now even your front line is starting to look good in the Scion and the Hecarim as well.
Yeah, we're still seeing the lane swaps still available here. Kinvey is actually roamed up, and they might be looking for Keith, but he does have the rocket jump available, does have a little bit of extra. Yeah, I was going to say, as well as the Glacial Fissure there. So best laid plans of mice and men. Keith say, no way, Jose. Didn't expect the Kenby, but there's Potluck, the double TP coming in for 100 Thieves Academy. Is it going to be too late as Kenby has already gotten Keith, but the rest of the fight, the showstopper, the team fight potential, you thought it was on Immortals, but it's all 100 Thieves.
You see, okay, it's a mousetrap, right? And there's no cheese. So then they're like, all right, Luger, walk out there. Suddenly, there's cheese in the mousetrap gets to spring. As now, okay, you have an immediate jump in from Keith, who's able to come in on top when Luger is able to leave the bush. They knew he was here. They also knew he was there because the Q that tagged. And then here comes Kenby. Unfortunately, Luger doesn't even go down the ultimate, and no damage outside of just the Hecarim actually comes in. And Tenacity's teleport into ultimate right here is huge. The Space Breaker ends up setting up an additional 2 kills for this team as 100 Thieves finally finds a punch back. And what would you know it? Off the back of clustering their team together.
Yeah, I have to say, the push and pull in that fight, right? Like, you've got so much CC, you've got so many things that could go wrong when you're clustered like that against this 100 Thieves roster. You have this Rel, you have this set, you even have the Sylas putting down some CC as well. So you've got to be really careful how you approach those fights. No matter how strong we said Immortals Academy's squad is, Tenacity just face checks a push into 3 members and eventually will go down, and Pretty gets the kill.
Yes, it looked like he was trying to step into River to try to put some additional wards down, but IMT beat them here as they were able to push past all of the warding that had come through. So you lose one of your biggest tools. The Showstopper wasn't available anyway, so the team fight was already going to be difficult from 100 Thieves, but now no Tenacity, no TP because of the play that had just happened on top side, and the rest of this team being down a decent amount of gold means they probably cannot contest. So this is just going to be third dragon going the way of Immortals. as now Immortals Academy staring down the barrel of what will likely be an Infernal Dragon and an Infernal Soul that's going to be coming up here, which will be really tough to deal with as your 2 damage sources now become exceptionally strong here on the side of Immortals, and 100 Thieves would have a tough time climbing past that one.
Summoner's Rift has made it up to us, Rebel. They've given us an Infernal Soul for the second game. We'll see what happens, though, as 100 Thieves were so good at controlling those objectives in game number 1, have had really no control up until this point. This will be the 3rd dragon going over Soul Point of that Infernal Soul we were talking about over to Immortals Academy.
Yeah, the set pick hasn't been able to find its footing, I don't think, within the confines of this game outside of that one really good team fight. The Nocturne kind of fell behind a little bit early, which was to be expected, but wasn't able to accomplish much outside of that second ultimate. Again, that fight has been good, and they're taking Rift Herald to respond a bit. But again, when you think about what's going to happen in a pure 5-on-5 where everything is set up, and you've got a good Orianna ultimate to use, you've got a Tristana who's capable of putting some damage in as well, and all of this CC and AoE from these tanks that are going to be available, it's really tough to imagine a world where 100 Thieves is able to come out on top of that, barring just like a pick before the fight or something like that. So here, IMT is going to control the pacing of this game from this point on, and 100 Thieves has to kind of just take what is given to them from the side of IMT. So it's up to them to be able to capitalize on those short little distances, because if this Infernal Soul goes over to IMT with this kind of a composition, this game might just be callable at that point.
Yeah, you've got to really be careful about setting yourself up for the later game success here. IMT definitely want to get that going. They put a little bit of aggression into the enemy side jungle, a little bit of invade, a little blue buff for Pretty, as trying to find out Kemby. Kemby's going to use the blast cone to get over the wall. They do have this Rift Herald available. It's going to be really hard for them to use it at this point, as their mid lane tower, tier 2, is getting blasted down.
It is. They're moving this Tristana around pretty well. Keith has been able to accomplish this on a couple of towers. Bottom lane, they pulled every single plate off. They did the top side and pulled a couple of plates off as well. And now mid lane, they've been able to siege down twice with Keith and find 2 towers in mid. Again, can you further advancing this gold lead that is held by IMT, but also making sure that this melee Silas has to respond to waves very deep into their own base to prevent any kind of collapse.
Oh, I thought Kemby was going to be able to get that one. Doesn't get the distance there on that stride breaker, but will be just another buff going over, and that's 2 back-to-back for Immortals, who have just been pressing up their advantage here, about that 4K gold in the lead, and really feeling themselves.
That they are, and again, playing around Pretty really well. To say that this guy is a surprise, I don't think would come for many people, but many people might not know where he came from. Coming from like EU Masters, some of the academy teams from the European region. This guy, I remember when he got signed, I was like, I don't really know who he is, but has obviously made a name for himself, being an incredible mid laner, and especially when you're on one of these scaling picks, these standard mages, and you get him to now 200 CS at 19 minutes into the game with 2 kills and 2 assists, you can rely on Pretty to be one of these very, very good late game players in the mid lane. So this is something that you can hang your hat on for the side of IMT. As also, you think about who else is here. You think Keith, you think Joey, you think Potluck, you think Tapoon, all players who have played professionally before, and it's Pretty who's the guy that we keep coming back to because of just how good he's been.
Yeah, exactly that. And it was interesting to see his lack of influence in that first game, being this mainstay, this guy who has all this KP, all this first blood, all this damage percentage for his team, but just really was non-existent in that first game. Now he's got himself set up. Now he's got a potential here to really carry those team fights, be a menace with those shockwave placements. So I want to see how Immortals continue to kind of try and snowball this lead. We've obviously seen they're really aggressive. They're always trying to make those invades, always trying to find catch-outs if they can on 100 Thieves. But I have to say, from the side of 100 Thieves, like, yes, they've given up a little bit, but they haven't given up the whole mile yet. They still have a lot of strength developing for themselves as well.
They have a Kai'Sa who's getting there. Silas also will become an absolute menace into backline when you have the opportunity, especially if you're able to get onto Tristana, who is not particularly well fed in this game. So like Tristana isn't ahead of the curve comparative to gold for anybody. So Silas actually still has an okay assassination target, but this gold continues to trickle into their pockets because there's nothing they can do to respond. As Tenacity just has to sit there and watch as Tapoon takes away that top lane tower and immediately removes another source, another beacon here for the side of 100 Thieves to be able to try to hold the remainder of this map. And we're about a minute out now, Mr. Mizell. We've had a little bit of a lull state for a while. 7 kills in 21 minutes is not what we're used to in a lot of these games. We're usually accustomed to quite a bit of aggression. But here, we're seeing that come to fruition with this patience from both squads, wanting to play for the later game, wanting to play for Infernal Soul. As Rift Herald gets dropped mid, they're going to try to shove this out, put pressure on, and use that to walk into the river to get some warding.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like second Rift Herald not going to do too much at this instant. Might not even, not even going to make it to the tower. Just was trying to provide a little bit of distraction. The distraction goes down a little too early, so you've still got 30 seconds to set up for this dragon, getting that control vision down, trying to get the setup for yourself that you want for 100 Thieves Academy.
And at minimum, they do have the shallow warding available, and they've denied shallow warding to the side of IMT for 100 Thieves, but IMT still controls the river pretty vastly right now. So the only thing you can think is Tenacity's got one good teleport warding. Here comes the engage.
They're trying to find out Keith, but they have found Potluck instead. There's the combo. There's Tenacity. Onslaught Shadows goes into the back. Potluck getting really low. Potluck goes down. Luger's going to get the kill. That's a double for the ADC of 100 Thieves Academy, but it's left to their own devices here as Tenacity flashes over the wall away from Tapoon, but Tapoon flashes back and gets the kill for himself. That's going to be a 2 for 3 in favor of Immortals Academy, and that could just be the soul.
And the fight got split really quickly here as it looked on the bottom side like Luger had something going, but Kenby gets brought down. Poom gets completely denied the ultimate as the re-engage is going to come in from Potluck. And I thought this was the moment the fight was breaking, but this top side gets completely eviscerated on bottom side. DeMonte and Luger are able to bring down Joey, but look, every member of the top side just gets completely wrecked as Tenacity loses the fight to Tapoon, and your damage can't walk in anymore. Keith and Pretty were still available the entire time. Their health bar's barely dented, as that's certainly Infernal Soul going to the side of IMT. That was probably just mostly a gold check, as well as, again, 100 Thieves. They got to play as 5 more than anything. So we're getting more replay. Why do I have a feeling that this is a steal if we're getting this extended of a replay? Why are the cameras coming down? Why is the boss music not playing?
No, it was secured there by Immortals Academy. Yes, you were thinking maybe. I do have to say, like, Pretty's positioning in that one was huge. The shockwave to come across in the back after the fight's kind of already broken apart rather. Like, that is so good to stay in the moment, stay in that situation. And Keith's rocket jump out was also huge, denying the engage from Kenby, denying that first pickoff to kind of snowball into the rest of them. And now you've got this Infernal Soul. You've got almost a 6K gold lead for yourself, and you've got to be really worried for 100 Thieves Academy's composition going into these fights.
To come back into this one would be a near impossible feat. It would be nearly a miracle, I would say, from the side of 100 Thieves to come back from how far down they are, and especially with this Infernal Soul being given over to the side of IMT as 100 Thieves. Like I said, they play better as 5. They haven't been able to find much of a 5-on-5 here during the course of this game. I keep saying it. I'll keep saying it the entire time. And IMT's aggression in the early game, much better than what we saw in game number 1, as they're looking to take control of this game number 2. There's not much hope to kind of have. I will say Luger has been playing immaculately. DeMonte's also played pretty well, but like one Kaiser's not going to be able to match you up against the likes of this massive Scion, this huge Orianna, and as well as Keith, who was able to pick up a bit in that last fight.
And they're just doing the Baron now, because you have to force.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves are going to TP Tenacity into the fight, but if this Baron goes down with this Soul, I mean, that's huge for Immortals. They could just sweep the game here if they want to, but do 100 Thieves Academy want to fight over this? They're positioning around the backside of the pit. They do have ways in here. You have Paranoia available for Kenby. You have flashes available. You can get over the wall, but Immortals Academy just want to go for the fight. They were baiting it out all along. Immediately, Poom is forced to go away. There's the Onslaught of Shadows. Kenby's on the back line, but he's all by himself. There comes the showstopper from Tenacity. Now Luger follows up, but the health bars for IMT, the target focus from IMT Academy is too strong to handle, and IMT will take that fight. They clean up 2. They don't get the 3rd, but they're right back to the Baron.
That fight right there, if 100 Thieves is on even gold or at least a little bit closer from where they were, if there's no Infernal Soul for IMT, this looks so good from 100 Thieves. They're able to get onto the right target. Boom nearly gets burst out. The ultimate from Heckman doesn't do much, and can be a Tenacity, but a perfect engage in the back leg. Then DeMonte and Luger get to join them. Look at that. If they've got damage, this fight looks so good for them, but they can't make it happen. The gold is not there. The items are not there, as Infernal Soul and now Baron are going to give this Immortals roster what is likely to be game number 2 and take us to a game number 3 against the side of 100 Thieves. It's just a matter of now closing that out. Like you said, I think you like to say, you know, crossing T's, dotting I's, making sure that this game's going to get wrapped up in a nice neat little bow and not take us into 36-minute range.
Yeah, that's what you would expect from a lead like this from Immortals Academy, but you never know. It is League of Legends. I do just love the fact that this has turned into a boxing match, Rebel. We had swings coming out left and right from 100 Thieves in that first game. Now Immortals Academy are completely dominating this game here in the second game.
Yeah.
That's the paranoia used by Kenvi, trying to help out a little bit for Demonte. He goes there onto Keith, ends up finding Pretty as well. He's just a Nocturne, though, as it's already Demonte finding Joey, but can they find any more? Kenvi's down. That big shockwave from Pretty is going to slam home that nail in the coffin as Demonte tries his darndest, but will be left to the fishes. And that's gotta be it. That's gotta be Immortals Academy taking game number 2 off a triple kill and an ace for Potluck.
100 Thieves makes these fights look so close, but it doesn't matter. The whole time, it doesn't matter. The shockwave from Pretty wasn't used, and it ends up buying a couple of kills. Keith was alive the entire time, and even these tanks are just doing way too much damage. Yeah, you find Joey off the back of like 3 or 4 of the resources you needed to win that fight, but it does not matter. 100 Thieves, they can't make the skirmish comp work. They end up losing the early game. Like you said, the first 5 rounds of that boxing match went very heavily to the side of IMT, as they're the only ones throwing punches.
Ooh, we got a series, Rebel. This is exactly what we were wanting to kick off our day, and Immortals Academy make it so. Playing exactly how they wanted to, controlling the map, getting that early advantage that we said was so heavily important for them, and they slam home the dub.
That they do. Really impressive, the adaptation that was made between Game 1 and Game 2. Game 1, it was passive, it was relaxed, it felt like they weren't finding any aggression, they were just like slow to everything, and Immortals just kind of got ran over. And in this one, they took everything into their own hands. They aggressed against mid with Tapoon. They got everybody across the map. Pretty got this massive advantage. They were winning team fights. They were forcing team fights, and everything was working out in their favor. I love the way they played. And if we get game 100 Thieves versus game 2 Immortals, that's going to be an absolute banger to close out this series.
It absolutely is. And that's where I got to turn my eyes over to 100 Thieves Academy, right? Getting kind of smacked at that second game, not really being able to find the ground that they wanted to fight back. And, you pick up this Nocturne for Kenvi, you saw the tools, the execution was there, the gold lead was not. So you got to think, is this going to be a similar composition? Do we just go back to game 1 where they had that kind of team fight synergy? They had a little bit of stabilization in their lanes, and that's what I'm looking for. I want to see what the draft holds for us in this game number 3, because it's going to be so telling to how these teams mentally are preparing for this third game. We do got to take a little break though, Rebel. You got to calm down just a little bit, as we're going to be heading into game 3 after a short little break.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as Discovery Plus, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS Proving Grounds powered by Verizon. Again, I am Mazel, joined by my good friend Rebel Fox, and we got a series on our hands.
That we do. We came into this one expecting more games. I wasn't sure if we were going to get 3, but here we are. We're in game number 3. Both teams with a pretty convincing win underneath of their belt, and we're going to get to see what the conclusion of this one is. Obviously, neither team wants to take a departure. Both of them are certainly talented enough to continue. It's a shame we have to lose one of them, but Mr. Mazel, we're going to have to lose one here in very, very quick fashion.
That's what I was just going to highlight. Thank you, Rebel, for leading us into that, because this is put up or shut up moment for both these squads. 100 Thieves Academy, Immortals Academy. Like, this is it. This is your Proving Grounds run coming to an end today if you do not win this next game. And I want to highlight the importance of that coming off of the back of 2 very separated but very strong games from either team. And we get to see a little bit of that here of the second game that we saw in 100 Thieves' tries to come back into it. But Immortals Academy, with the execution, with the confidence coming in that we were kind of highlighting to after game number 1, it's setting up for such a wonderful finish to this series.
And for 100 Thieves, their fighting looked good even though they were down a bunch of gold, which shows how proficient they are at team fighting to actually find themselves the ability to do those kinds of things. So I will say they have that possibility. Come back to team fight, come back to standard. That looks really good for you. But Immortals also, they came out in game 1, did not have any aggression. We're not looking into anything. Now in game 2, they came out very, very aggressive and were able to make things happen. So I got to give a lot of faith to them. Being able to change up strategy in the midst of a series like that is huge. And being able to kind of realign yourselves with what's been successful for you has been another really big moment here for the side of Immortals as well coming into the second game. As now it's a battle of, okay, Immortals, how good do they do in the earlier stages of the game versus how equalized are the 5-on-5 fights for the side of 100 Thieves? Can they win those fights as well?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me is like Kenvi on the Nocturne. The ideas were there, my dude. Like the ideas, he had the executions, he had the foresight to being able to kind of pull some of those off, but it was the gold lack. It was the team fight composition coming out from Immortals Academy. Like, I want to see a change of that kind of going forward for 100 Thieves Academy, because I do feel like they have some strong pieces individually. But again, it comes down to a lot of that team play, trying to get everybody ahead, trying to pull those resources to those solo lanes and try to find advantages for Demonte, for Tenacity, where that didn't exist in that second game.
No, it felt like all of their lanes were at least a slight, if not just a major disadvantage over the course of the entire first parts of our series. And then that just led into a really poor later game where their fighting might have looked good, but they had no chance of winning it because they just don't have the stats readily available for it. So right now, coming in to try to take this series between these two teams, we've highlighted how important it is, and the fact that these two teams now are backs up against the wall yet again within this best of 3, trying to compete against another one of these academy teams. And you think, like right now, we're at like the 12th through 8th place or 12th through 9th place teams at the moment. This was the 3rd best academy team and the 5th best academy team coming out. Neither one of them had to play in play-ins. They both did well at Northern Arena. Like, these teams, they don't deserve to leave yet, or at least you don't think that they deserve to leave yet. You've seen the level of play they're capable of bringing. So now, I mean, it would be disheartening, I would say, for either team to have to lose this one. So I'm really looking forward to see what kind of picks get brought out, what kind of play get brought out, who these teams are going to be relying on now that it really is crunch time for them.
And we talked a lot about it already, but the pivotal matchup here has got to be Kenvi versus Potluck again. I mean, it's been so monumental in how the early game has gone, how the pathing has gone, how the objective control has gone, which we've seen has been a huge telling point of this series so far, right? You get all that objective control, that team just typically wins here. As you saw a ton of objective control that Soul gained by 100 Thieves Academy in that first game. This one, Immortals Academy able to slam that home really quickly. And going into this next game, I have to say, I love the Nocturne. Kenvi, I believe in you. I know the Nocturne is something you might like to play, but I want to see something more aligned with what they had in game number 1.
Yeah, the Nocturne's a good idea when it comes to trying to force fights, but
again,
also they built around. Yeah, the idea's there for at least the Nocturne, but then building the composition around it, I think, got a little bit messy. So, like, you think of the two mid pools right now, like the mid pool of 100 Thieves is really deep, and Immortals, like, it's not as deep. They're playing pretty standard stuff. But when you've got like I think Damonte's played like Ahri, he's played like Renekton, he's played like Echo. Like there's so many different options here for trying to push out mid lane. I think this matchup between junglers has now become much less of, okay, it's Kenvi versus Potluck. It's now, how does Kenvi get Damonte out of lane versus how does Potluck get his mid laner pretty out of lane. And whoever's able to make impact on the map faster, at least that's what we've seen in the first 2 games, is which mid laner's having more impact on the map. And so far, whichever one does is able to take the game. Perhaps that's swayed to some extent, but I think that's become more of the goal now, is to make sure your mid laners are having interactions within team fights, within skirmishes, and around these objectives, as you had highlighted just a second ago.
And I wonder how much priority is going to be on that Orianna. Seen it twice. It's won both games. Hey, who knows? I'm not saying anything, but maybe we see an Orianna ban coming out for this 3rd game, because that Orianna pick, like, in general, it's such a staple pick in the mid lane. If you get it ahead, obviously it excels. But the team fight, the spacing, the just being able to have those shockwaves on the back line, like we saw Pretty execute so many times in that last game, Damonte execute so many times in the first game. I wonder if we see that kind of shied away from in terms of getting the bans onto that specific pick, because I feel like with the way that both these teams want to play, a lot of focus around those junglers, a lot of focus on Udi or Hecarim, even though, it was the Nocturne last time for Kenvi. That ball delivery system, that shockwave setup is so huge for how these teams want to play, or those types of abilities. So I wonder if we see a little bit more index for at least 100 Thieves Academy into that team fight composition as well.
It would make sense to me for them to want to really put a high priority on Orianna. Damonte is good at it, and it fits into anything they want to do, because if you're trying to take smaller skirmishes, it fits with a lot of junglers, and if you're taking big team fights, you still have that massive tool that can come through, as well as being able to support your team with E's, Qs, things of that sort. So it's definitely there. I am really shocked also that we have not seen any Volibear at all. As it's been like the most picked champion for Tenacity, and also Potluck has played it a lot. Neither one of these teams has come towards it with like a 10-foot pole right now, which is mildly shocking to me. And I'm curious if one of these teams is willing to take it. I know it might be a little bit out of what they're looking for in this 3rd game, or at least depending on their game plan, it could change things up. But it feels like there is a difference maker in one of these lanes that has not yet been picked by either squad that could make a difference. So this is what we say. When back's against the wall, do you pull out Renekton and flex it between mid and top on the side of 100 Thieves? Do you pull out Lucian for Pretty in the mid lane, try to use that? How about Seraphine? Seraphine hasn't really dipped her head into the series whatsoever for the most part, except for in bans, I think. But plenty of champions that just have not been grabbed by either team that they found success with in the past.
I think the other thing for me is I was a little sad for Tenacity, right? He got the set against the Scion. I felt like you had that early aggression up there, but nothing came of it. I feel like Tapoon had a great performance on the Scion, was able to go mid, help out Pretty, get some advantages in that aspect, but was more so involved in the way that Immortals Academy approached the game, and was always looking to help out the team. And I think that's something that we saw in game 1 from 100 Thieves, and when they were down in gold, at least you think that confidence, that kind of mobility goes down, and maybe not as willing to join those big fights. But as the set, you saw some of those bright spots, you saw some of those engagements, the face breakers into the showstoppers, and those kinds of combinations. But you've got to find something that I feel like that sets you up a little bit better for Tenacity. This guy who we've known to be aggressive. He showed it in last game in the early parts of the game, but was able to find anything later on. And that's another piece I think will be very important going to this one for 100 Thieves Academy, because you can focus all day long about the team fight compositions, the scaling, the way that they execute the fights, but you've got to find leads in those solo lanes as well.
I'm gonna go through 2 points here. First off, Set was perma-picked in like 2020, 2019, whenever he came back there. I'm pretty sure it was 2020.
Whatever days
alongside Ornn for basically half of a season. I feel no remorse for Set players in the top lane. None. Absolutely zero. And on the other side, I think Tenacity does better when he has a lane advantage. And I think against Tapoon, who plays a lot more for teamfight, as we saw in game number 1, that he's going to be aiming for those fights. To me, Tenacity needs to be more greedy. Play for that lane. I want to see him keep Tapoon locked in that top zone.
Let's see what happens as we dive into this Game 3 draft. This is the setup for this final potential match here between these squads. Either 100 Thieves Academy come away feeling confident in this one with the composition they love, or Immortals Academy come out on top. We'll have to see, Rebel, want your diagnostics afterwards. But we already got some interesting bands, some very similar bands to what we've seen all series long, except for one. And it's that Orianna that comes through as a band for Immortals Academy.
not allowed. No Orianna allowed, unfortunately, for the side of 100 Thieves, as you know that they want to prioritize that. I don't know that they go R1 with it, but then the problem is then if IMT wants to, or my apologies, B1, then like R1, R2 starts to still get a little bit cloudy. As 100 Thieves get a chance to also still pinch off the bottom pool. So last game, they let the Tristana through. Keith looked very good on the Tristana, so they're making sure that that's not going to come through. Earlier game, it wasn't as impactful as maybe you would want it to be, but in the later game team fights, it did the TPS that was absolutely necessary. Notice also, Renekton taken off the board. That's Demonte, and it's also Tenacity, double pinching those pools. Thresh, also 100% win rate for Poom so far in the tournament, so it's not been shocking at all to see them continue to take that away. In fact, most red side teams are willing to take that one away. Hecarim is left unavailable, and 100 Thieves may be looking at that one first to try to deny it from potluck.
And you've got to feel pretty confident. Obviously, both blue side wins already so far, and having that kind of aspect to it. The Hecarim does come out for the first time of this series for Kenvi. We'll be picking that up in game number 3. It provides them a lot of mobility, a lot of engage potential there for themselves. So I like that pick to start us off for 100 Thieves Academy. The other side, though, they get Keith on the Kai'Sa, which we've seen Kai'Sa be so strong in this series so far, in general at least. Even in last game, Luger had 3 kills on him with no deaths, so we'll see. But it is paired up with that Rel, another very strong mainstay in the meta.
Instead, I think got taken off, or it was Tom Kench that got banned out, I believe, last game by 100 Thieves on red side. They haven't quite locked it in, but a Senna Tom Kench lane could be on the books for them to be able to snack that one away as a defense to the Kai'Sa. I know Xayah is also something that could be played potentially, as we've seen that one before, and I believe is that actually something that has been played by Luger. So this makes a lot more sense. I think Senna Tom Kench is a defensive lane. You can't aggress against it very well with the likes of the Rel, so you got to get out of lane. It does lock in this more laning style as opposed to roaming until you get into the team fighting, which is helpful and not helpful for Academy, as now you don't have the support for dragon plays and things like that, but at minimum you do have really good team fighters for Luger and Poom and no aggression to come out from IMT.
And that's where I think it's going to be so interesting and how this bot lane kind of affects the way that the rest of the map is played, because you do have this strong lane presence there trying to keep that farm going on the side of Luger and Poom, and on the other side, if Joey can get unlocked and kind of try to keep out and help out Potluck especially, and like that's where you see a lot of the success come down and how they like to play. So the Udyr comes through, tried and true matchup. Would have thought that it's Graves Lilia from last year, but it's Hecarim Udyr coming through. Just give us another power duo of that jungle matchup.
Yeah, also taking the Rise away. I know it's funny because this is something that Demonte plays, but I know Tenacity also plays it because his pool is just massive as well. So not wanting to give away that flex. It is almost certainly mid lane right now because there's just not that much flexibility for Rise in the top side. But taking that one away, both mid pools likely to get pinched off a little bit here because these mid laners, again, have had so much impact when they get broken loose of the laning phase. Now no Orianna to come to. Rise and Azir both taken off the board. And what else do these teams actually decide on to take away from their opposition?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question here. If we see more of that solo lane focus, I do want to go back to the point you've been saying, like, and I just want to highlight it one more time. Like, Demonte and Pretty feel like the heartbeat of this series so far, right? You've got the flailing arms, you got everything going else, going crazy. Kenvi trying to reach out, Pollock trying to reach out, but inside, the way that these teams are working, Demonte and Pretty have been a very big tell on how the game is going for both of them. We do get to see a little bit more particular focus there as the volley bear is going to come off the board for IMT Academy.
Well, again, one of these picks that might be flexible, but more so for Tenacity to be able to respond to something in the right situation, as it's blindable into a number of matchups. And Victor taken off as another flex pick that, or another kind of blind pick that could be put into the mid lane. So now, does IMT go to Sion? Because that is something that you could pick for Top Poon as a potential grab here to blind one of your solo lanes and give priority for Pretty. This isn't something special. We see this all the time. It happens in all of the Academy games. Sion is just the best blind top laner right now, especially when other champions have been removed from the board.
Yeah, and this is the response that I want to see, right? 100 Thieves are going to have to pick up their 2. They're going to leave that counter pick open and available to the mid laner, but for Pretty at least. But this, you can't deal with that. You can't think about that too heavily. You got to go with something that's going to be comfort for you, something that you're going to succeed on. And I do believe, it is going to be that Aatrox coming in for Tenacity.
It will. And now mid lane is under consideration. You've got kind of a mid-range composition right here. Syndra is going to get locked in for Demonte, which is for the range that it's got and the CC that it's got, as well as into the team we're currently looking at with like Sion and Udyr and a lot of run-at-you type champions. This is a champion that can absolutely succeed in that setting.
I like the Syndra picked up for Demonte. A little tried and true press R button action coming through. We get a little spice Coming to finish us out for IMT Academy, though, Echo coming in for pretty against that Syndra matchup.
And you want to talk about like pure laning, Syndra is going to be good into this because like you can actually just drop a bunch of range damage onto Echo. As long as you save your E, it's difficult for Echo to get that ability in. But if you're playing to that mid lane like Potluck is expected to do, if you're able to burn early summoner spells from the likes of the Syndra, there's difficulty to be had on the horizon as the Echo can absolutely side lane against it. It can kill it in this laning phase. It's really good at pressuring off into backliners and things like that. And Tahm Kench has only one W, so you got to protect either Syndra or Senna. One of them's going down to the Echo when he gets into the backline.
The other thing I want to talk about here is like, this is exactly what I wanted for both these compositions, right? Like we have the potential early game bridge into the late game. You have a lot of influence that you can have skirmishing early on, but you still have the tried and true team fight compositions that are going to bring us that 25, 30-minute fight in front of those objectives where it's all craziness, fireworks everywhere, and that's what I'm hoping for. If one of these teams obviously can get a lead early, that changes things as you go into later fights, but if things stay even, this is going to be a battle of time.
It will. I'll say 100 Thieves in terms of 5-on-5 composition, they've got range advantage for days when it comes to the Syndra and the Senna. Because right now you're rocking 4 melee champions and just the 1 range champion, which again is Kai'Sa. This is what happened last game as well for 100 Thieves, and you saw that they would get bullied from time to time. So expectation for 100 Thieves to take the lead means IMT have got to get proactive, play like they did in game 2, get this Echo going fast.
Proactivity is key as we hit the rift for the final time of proving ground for one of these teams. 100 Thieves Academy up against Immortals Academy.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
I'm ready to watch what is one of my least favorite champions mid lane just get bullied, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Demonte. I do not like Syndra in the slightest, and Echo is a good matchup into it and will bully her if you get an advantage. So if you're Potluck, again, I think you have Flash, you've got the ability to get on top. Even if you're trading Flash for Demonte's, that's advantageous because all of a sudden your Echo's laning phase, which is something that can be pressed on by Syndra early on to try to mitigate some of the strength Echo's got into this matchup, that's the only thing that you got going for you. So if your lane starts to get pulled away or just destroyed by the likes of Udyr coming in, getting a flash off you, or even getting kills for the Echo, all of a sudden there is absolutely no semblance for Syndra other than being a stun bat, which is what she is most of the time. Ward down not only as a way of defending against the gank setup from Kenvi, but notice that Potluck's on top. And Tahm Kench probably has good pushing pressure because Luger wants to just drop auto attacks into Keith and Joey, so they have to play a little further back. So Potluck, if he gets to bottom side and this ward's here, they know there's no defensive ward, and they have the vision to get him into Tri-Brush completely freely. This could be a play from the side of IMT to get Potluck to gank Luger and Boom very quickly into this game.
And that's another thing that I wanted to highlight. We're talking about the compositions in general and whatnot, but and like waiting for late game, having some scaling options available to them. Luger needs to wait a while, right? Like you're trying to get those souls up. You're trying to make sure you get to those item spikes. Let the farming go over to Poom early on and try to just buy as much time as you can for that ball. If you're getting tussled on by Potluck early on, that's definitely not where you want. You don't want to be giving those leads over to the Kai'Sa early because that skirmishing gets stronger and stronger, and Kai'Sa can hit those break points quicker.
That you can. There's not a lot of ability to kill really tanky members, I think, also, except for the Kai'Sa. So there's a lot of heavy lifting that Keith needs to do within this composition. Because it's like, okay, if you're considering Syndra and you're considering Senna and like those two, it's pretty easy for Pretty to try to get onto them and to make this aggressive play into backline, become this diver and this assassin. But into Aatrox, who's going to have a bunch of damage and tankiness, and then even into Poom, who's going to be insanely tanky, it's got to be Keith. Keith is the only person who can handle them to start off this game. So they're putting a lot of faith into perhaps one of the more veteran players we have in all of Academy and Amateur right now in this player, Keith, who's been around. I mean, he's TSM, TLA, C9, back when he was in Academy, all of these different teams, GGA as support and all these different places that possibility is there. And they're relying on him right now to be this workhorse in this composition.
And speaking of workhorses, the horse was pushed off the scuttle crab. Kenvi was not allowed to get that top scuttle crab. It was a double scuttle pull up from Potluck. Well, at least they were going to get that advantage for them as well. A little bit of pace increase. I think is a good tempered aggression coming out from 100 Thieves Academy, though, knowing they probably don't need to fight early on. They're waiting a little bit longer.
That they are. Not wanting to force this. This is the second time now we've seen a Hecarim get double scuttled as well by an Udyr specifically, which is kind of the strength of Udyr, being able to control that early double scuttle. This came off the back of, again, it was a wave that got pushed off the tower by Luger and Boom, where I think, now that I'm looking back at it, or at least in hindsight 2020, you can consider that ward was only there to make sure that they could push back as soon as the wave bounced off their tower to buy Potluck that space. So maybe that's what they're looking for the whole time, was a bit more passive of play. I would like to see a gank bot lane, but I can also see that this setup was exclusively to make sure that the double scuttle would go through cleanly.
Yeah, and that sets you up for a little bit of objective control early, if you would like, as I combined all three of those words. 10 seconds for this first dragon will be this mountain dragon. A little bit of armor resist, magic resist and armor coming in. We'll see if they can actually get that early objective going, as we've seen been so key so far in this series, especially. And early on, you would expect it to be on the side of Potluck and IMT, right? They're trying to get this bot lane potentially ahead. They're seeing a lot of focus down towards this bot lane for Potluck. As we speak about it, see if they get the engage down here. There's the crash down immediately flashed out of by Luger. Not going to be anything to follow up. Just a little bit of soul collecting by the ADC for 100 Thieves Academy.
And it is one of the very rare situations where like that was like a geometric necessary flash, is like otherwise like Boom could maybe use the W if it's necessary to try to find something. Now into the mid lane goes Kenvi, trying to push back Pretty.
Yeah, Pretty's trying to get over to Potluck, does indeed get under that one. Oh, Tapu flashes forward, and so does Pretty, but they don't get the kills. Now we have the follow-up for the TP of Tenacity. He is on this Aatrox, does have a decent amount of damage. Flashes for the Q spot, doesn't get the kill, but Kenvi wants to go forward now. First blood goes over to Joey, but it's quickly followed up to by a kill onto Kenvi. Potluck gets the kill into Demonte too. It's quickly 2-1 in favor of Immortals Academy.
So close. Joey's able to move out of this lane faster because, of course, this is a farming Tahm Kench. So, unfortunately, the Senna just doesn't move because you want to farm souls. But that means that Joey gets into this fight. Now another TP coming out from Demonte to find something. The E has got to be available, but I don't think they're actually going to be able to catch them at all as a 2-for-1 come down for the side of Immortals. It looks so close. Tenacity almost picks up a couple extra kills, but unfortunately, the Aatrox is not able to grab it.
I love the flash for the sweet spots. You gotta appreciate it, but unfortunately unable to get in. Here's the start of the fight here, Rebel, as Pretty just goes full in on Demonte.
Yeah, the E does not work for Demonte, and the setup's here for Kenvi to try to push him back in. So the damage is definitely here. The TP, well responded to. I think that one little hiccup right there might have cost Demonte a little bit of time, and maybe his flash as well, as if you're a little further back, Tapu can't quite get to you. And here, Aatrox comes in, but again, look at bottom lane. They have Joey here and nobody here from the side of 100 Thieves bot lane because, of course, you have the farmer and the person who's stacking souls. And Tenacity, as hard as he tries to get some of these points, not able to get much. As over the wall goes Potluck with this flash, gets on top of Demonte, who no longer has flash, and the E means nothing when the stun comes out from the bear.
It's huge. And also Tenacity TPing into the fight with about a quarter of his health missing definitely does not help the situation, but has to pull the trigger on it, has to get there to help the teammates, and luckily they're able to get that one back, but it's still a good lead, at least a good advantage for Immortals in terms of this game in general, in the early game. But now we've got to see that focus transition to these objectives. Rift Herald coming up about 30 seconds. Potluck already starting up that first dragon.
Yeah, and the back had come through only just recently from Kenvi, so he's not going to be anywhere near this. They should be able to snag this extremely free with Potluck, even though he walked over the Scuttle Crab to snag it. So they have vision of where they know that Potluck is going to be at, taking this dragon. It's only the first of the game, so it's not that big of a deal. But for a team, especially one that has very low range, the ability to control these objective rivers, just to walk in first and not have to walk in yourselves so close to the pit to have to turn for a fight is it's really valuable. So thankfully, not going to have to worry about this one in this case. Instead, just going to take that first dragon and walk away. Topside push is here from Kenvi as well, as they're warding for this Rift Herald, or what could be, but a swap now coming out from Keith and Joey.
This could be an interesting conundrum down here, as Rift Herald's already been started up by 100 Thieves Academy. I think they want to pull off immediately, though. You got 5 members coming around here from Immortals Academy. They definitely want to take this objective, as the unstoppable onslaught comes out onto Kenvi. He's going to use the onslaught of shadows out of there, as Tenacity's still there with the world, and they're still trying to be a team fight threat. But that's the Rift Herald picked up by Immortals Academy, and that's been the story so far of this game 3.
Yeah, the shoving bot lane from Keith and Joey, and then the farm had to come through from Poom, where they tried to move their Senna exclusively, but not enough people come up here for this value. I think blue buff also just got taken by Kenvi, which is why we saw a zoom in right there, as no blue buff for Syndra. It does make it harder to shove in this Echo with this range advantage, so at least a little bit of something, not the most impactful, but still something to consider as Top Boon now takes a gank.
Yeah, Top Boon's gonna die up here to the duo of Tenacity and Kenvi. Gonna give Tenacity a little bit of gold in his pocket, a little bit of an advantage on the Aatrox, hoping to help that into the team fights, as we did get just the trade back, the repositioning from both the bot lanes to the bot side of the map.
I'll say, I think Tenacity's Aatrox could be one massive game changer here from 100 Thieves. Again, with low range to work with when you're talking about Cylon or like 3 melees, 4 melees here, these Qs can really be a deterrent to try to walk into a fight. And especially when you don't have anybody but Keith that's capable of putting damage in, that means that there's so much CC and so much kind of fat you have to burn through here for Keith that Aatrox can actually run rampant in a fight. So I want to see 100 Thieves continue this trend where Kenvi and Tenacity link up to put Top Boon in the dirt, make sure that Scion doesn't get way too bulky for the Senna, who, again, side of 100 Thieves is not a great way to kill Scion either. So they got to make sure that tankiness isn't going to be there, and also that their really, really big kind of carry within fights in Aatrox is going to be capable of putting in a lot of work as well.
It's going to be important on how this game pans out as we crest that 10-minute mark. Still early on. More blood than we had last time around. We got a couple kills apiece on each side. But we do still have the switch. I thought they were going to keep the lanes the same. It's not. Top Boon's down bot lane. You have Keith and Joey positioning up towards that top side of the map.
I think you're perfectly comfortable with this. You're just trying to make sure that the Senna doesn't have time to actually pull soul. So if you keep pulling this lane swap shenanigans, we usually see this at a mid and top lane when you have like 2 champions that can rotate for preferable matchup, and you just keep swapping over and over and over again, and eventually someone runs out of farm. But in this case, it's Luger who's going to be falling behind in terms of souls, which is harmful, but not as harmful as normal. As I think Tom Kench is okay into the Scion lane. It means that there's no aggression into Scion at least, but this could open up for some aggression into the opposite side of the map if Kenvi wants to link up with Tenacity and Luger to put some aggression into this bottom lane of IMT.
And I love it because Luger's just hanging around Kenvi, trying to get the souls that he can from the jungle creeps as well. So min-maxing coming out, trying to make sure that they get these lane assignments right, get Luger still farming as much as he can in those situations. And it's just kind of funny to me that we've ended up with Top Poon versus Poom on the bot side.
Yeah, Poom is now a top laner, as it turns out. Tenacity is an ADC and Luger is a support. Who would have thought that we ended up with these? And even better, all of this on the opposite side of the map. So we're not seeing even proper lane setup for this. So shenanigans about is the best way to put this across everything. As I think this is harmful to pull experience out of Tenacity, but it does mean that now there's a large amount of kill threat onto these two, especially if you can get Kenvi here. So like, I want to see them try to abuse this, because there's not much abuse that can come into Tom Kench on bottom side. There's a ton of abuse that can come onto Keith and onto Joey, which is why Potluck is hanging around this area, making sure there's nothing to go about if Kenvi were to come up here.
Does also have the Rift Herald that needs to be popped very soon, so it does look like they want to commit that to the top side of the map. Potluck already summoning that Rift Herald up there. Tenacity still here, Luger's still here, but can they get some plates for Keith and the rest of the company, as they do get a couple off the back of that one? Just gonna have to burn it. It was almost coming up anyways. There was no real other position that you could have used it besides that mid lane potentially, but it will just go to that ADC trying to get Keith ahead on the Kaisa.
That it will, as they're able to now put themselves in a position where a bit of gold goes into everybody. Probably not the perfect usage, or not what they really want out of a Rift Herald, but at minimum will get them a bit of gold into a couple more members, as this game obscenely closer than either of the other two to this point, because usually we're seeing pretty decent leads develop, but here we are in this game number 3. Games pretty close to start things off, as playing around this next dragon could be big. They're actually TPing down to bottom lane Poom, and if Tenacity is aggressing against top lane with TP as well, so they're striking on 2 sides of the map as Dragon begins to spawn, and you know that's what 100 Thieves is looking for right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, you could have called it from a mile away. They sent everybody down there, even got the TP to make sure Poom was in position, and now they're getting the roam from Demonte that way as well. The Dragon had already been started up here, but you've got IMT Academy coming down to try and contest this, try to get their second Dragon of the game if they want to, as it's about half health now. and going to be aggressed on. This is what we've seen all game so far, though. You know, it's 100 Thieves Academy start up the objective. They get pushed off of it, and that ends up going over to INT Academy. We'll see if Kenby can make that not happen this time around. He does smite it away, so that will be the Dragon secured. Dawning Shadow comes out to back him up. Magnet Storm comes through, though, and Poom is in some serious trouble here. Still does have the gray health available. And now Tenacity joins the fight. 100 Thieves Academy want to turn it. He's not going to pop the World Ender just yet, but they're looking to get the resets. Tenacity gets his first kill. Kenby getting very, very low. The parallel convergence right in the middle of the team, but the Onslaught of Shadows leaves Kenby to his death. Doesn't matter, though. Tenacity's picking up the slack, and Tenacity is on a killing spree at this point. Poom comes in with the Abyssal Voyage on the backside of the fight. That's a quick couple kills going over for one for 100 Thieves Academy. Apologies.
100 Thieves come to this Dragon Pit, and they're like, okay, we could try fourth. They're poking back and forth, and Kenby gets the smite down onto the Dragon, and we thought that was the end of the play, but once the ultimate spur from Joey, there's no response in the team fight, so all it takes is a teleport from Tenacity to break open the rest of the play. You'll get to see this. I love the position from Pretty to be on the backside of this. This is really tough for 100 Thieves. The fact that they secure this Dragon is really close. I love the use of the E from Luger as well. The guys, it falls off a little bit short, but that's why I got to push IMT back there for a short second. The smite fight goes the way it can be. They're able to pull away, and Joey tries to make something happen with a flash ultimate, gets pushed away by Demonte, but once that's down, what do you actually have left to fight with? So here comes Tenacity with this Aatrox, so hard to deal with. Damage is here as well. It's not super high from the side of 100 Thieves to start with, but they got more than enough to deal with inside of this tank to find these kills. Pretty tried to find a flank. Down goes Kenby in the backline, but they end up trading another one back as the Aatrox is just too much to handle right now.
Yeah, I mean, Kenby realizes he's probably going to go down, need to use the tools that are available to him anyways. The Onslaught of Shadows came out of the back line, helping set up the rest of those kills. I just love it because you're interchanging this front line, right? Kenby was the one starting up that fight, ends up getting taken down. Tenacity picks up the mantle right away.
I want to notice something really quickly. So we pointed out the fact that Keith is pretty much the only person that can actually deal with the frontliners here when it comes to Tenacity and Poom and Kenby normally. However, it's not Chem Tank on the Hecarim. It's going to be Divine Sunderer as a way to get this burst damage out into Keith and into Pretty when they try to make these plays happen. If they kill Keith, there's no way to kill Tenacity. It's not going to happen in any fight. So there's fear now that has to be had. Who do you have that can peel for Keith in these fights? Keith has to be terrified of the horse right now.
Yeah, you've got to be worried. You've got to be buying your time here as Keith, making sure your positioning is correct, as they're going to commit 100 Thieves Academy R down towards this bot side, and Tapoon might be in some trouble. Kenby goes a little early. There's the World Ender by Tenacity. They have found Potluck on the box side. Demonte and Luger almost take him down. They aren't going to get the, or actually they do take him down, so Potluck's out of the fight. They are split for 100 Thieves Academy, though. Luger going to buy some time, break some ankles, but he can't do it. Can he, though? He gets away from the re-engage of Kenby, and Kenby gets the kill. There's the Onslaught of Shadows. The unstoppable Onslaught used in return to get Tapoon out of there, but great heads-up plays coming out for 100 Thieves.
It is hysterical because 100 Thieves still has this side lane top catch that's just munching away at people, and they set up for this dive bottom lane, and Immortals goes, okay, I think we can fight, and it just doesn't work out for them as Demonte's there a little bit faster. It's Mid who shows up a little bit quicker and is able to get the kill onto Potluck.
Look
Potluck
at this
gets caught
damage.
out with that W. Look at that Fog of War usage of the E. The ultimate comes through, only 100 health. That's how much Syndra ultimate does, and Pretty tries
I was just about to say, you're lying here, Rebel.
But then Kenby makes a miraculous pinch right here to make sure that
devastating charge. Oh my god.
Yeah. Rooted as well. The ultimate wasn't available for Pretty right yet. I do say the end of that play, they might have been able to catch Sion with absolutely flawless play, but they got more than enough off the back of that one. As the dive on a Sion was never the play. Instead, the 2 kills they found in the jungle were more than they needed.
And the deadly duo of Demonte and Luger there on the Senna, and the just being able to at least get the Syndra ahead in some aspect of it.
Yeah.
I do want to re-mention, though, Potluck was able to secure that second Rift Herald, right?
Yes.
So they do still have some advantages to gain. Where they want to use it is the important key. It does look like we're getting a lot of focus towards this top side. Could be just trying to take this top side tower out.
And it might. Putting a lot of pressure into Tenacity right now to shut him down, as Joey's not going to find anything. Rift Herald will be able to find a fair amount. They are putting a lot of members, though, into mid lane here from the side of 100 Thieves to try to respond. So they lose top tower. Do they gain mid inner or mid outer tower for the opposition? Do they find a bit of gold back?
They just want the dragon. Right. Oh, wait. Pretty's getting very low. Does still have the parallel convergence there, as well as the chrono break if he actually doesn't have it anymore. Pretty's getting very low. Tenaci's taking a 1v3, and Puma's arrived now, as that was almost a close call for the side of IMTA, but they pull out when they needed to.
And the mid lane tower is able to be broken by 100 Thieves, and as you said,
and
the
now
setup
the
for Dragon is far better. Yeah, they absolutely have that. They already had bot side push with this Tom Kench side lane for some reason, and that's just working out so well. No aggression to come out against that, so they're just leaving it be. As now, in the opposite side of the map, from where the strike was from IMT, they're able to make a counterplay with this Dragon. Even better, yes, you were able to get a charge onto this bottom or top inner for IMT, which I think is the one caveat, is maybe that top inner will fall with a little bit more pressure, but at minimum, you basically trade off Dragon for a bit of gold into the pockets of, I think it was 3 or 4 members that were there for that top side dash. I don't think that's worth it from the side of IMT.
And you also, you know, the top lane, the solo lane, Tom Kench gets his tower too. So, you know, everything works out for
That's real concerning to me, I will say.
But as the compositions are kind of lining up here, we're about cresting that 20-minute mark, right? We don't have like the huge leads. It's still on a knife's edge. I think the biggest thing for me is how Tenacity has been playing these team fights. He is such a menace. Everybody has to focus on him when he enters the fights, and then you have so many other things to deal with. That Tenacity is key to how 100 Thieves Academy can take the rest of these games.
100%. When you've got a front line with a Hecarim, with an Aatrox, and with a Tom Kench, it's difficult to burst through that, especially with the sustain they've got. Kenvi gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar, though.
Yeah, parallel convergence comes out. Kenvi gets away with the use of the Onslaught of Shadows over the wall into the Baron pit. Almost a good catch out there by IMTA, but unable to get that trigger pulled, and it will just be a little bit more time bought by 100 Thieves Academy.
I think mostly because Tenacity was able to shove in top lane. They felt like they had that, but a counter invade into blue buff here, trying to find Kenvi again.
Pollock needs to be a little careful. Yeah, all members from 100 Thieves Academy that are up on this top side map kind of collapsing onto him. He is a new Udyr, really quick, able to get away from that one. And Demonte gets the blue buff this time around.
It's too little too late. You can't convince me.
No.
Like, at this point in the laning phase, it's not going to worry too much, but the push will be here. Blue's going to help him no matter what, but it would have been helpful earlier when it came to the laning phase. As Pretty's been able to get out pretty much unscathed. Is 0, 1, and 2 did get picked off in that jungle, but again, for the amount of damage that could have been done by the Syndra into this laning phase, I think you take that if you're Pretty. You're 100% fine with that. Now it's about, again, if you find picks with Echo, that's humongous to start your fight, as you don't have your consistent damage, but Aatrox still persists as a problem that could exist. Demonte
almost gets caught on the edge, but is that going to be it for Pretty? Can't get the kill there as Poom joins with that Abyssal Voyage. Almost there for IMT, but that's starting to be the call now, right? It's been almost a couple times. When is it going to actually happen?
I was worried there because I was sweating for a second because Syndra used that E to try to punish Keith. And Demonte, like, he sees the corner get rounded by Pretty, and he had to be panicking at least a little bit, but didn't even have to burn the flash because you're not worried down there. Even bottom lane tower, which is getting free shoved by Tapoon, doesn't even go down. Across the map, it seems like you said, almost has been the word here from IMT, where they're so close to breaking open a number of these plays, but just haven't been able to make too much stick, as we're once again in a bit of a lull. 2 minutes until the next dragon, and that could be a sole point to be gotten to by the side of 100 Thieves, which would again start to force some of these fights that they're looking for. And at that point, Tenacity's probably on 2 items probably completed for Demonte at that point, and their damage really starts to come together.
And I just think that's something I want to highlight back onto the point that we're talking about the almost and things like that. Like we said at the beginning, 100 Thieves are looking to scale up. They have a lot of scaling in Luger who can get those souls going. Syndra gets so menacing in the later parts of the game. But you've got, and we were talking about like IMT trying to pick up the tempo a little bit, get some of that early skirmishing going in their favor. It hasn't worked out. And at this point, you do have scaling on your side, but you're looking across the board and you're seeing Luger, who has been such a strong performer for 100 Thieves Academy on this Senna, and you know what those laser beams can do past 30 minutes or so. Like, you've got to keep up that tempo. You've got to keep trying to find these advantages at this moment.
And they haven't been able to find much, that's for sure. As if these dragons start to go over and 100 Thieves begins to control this map, it becomes very difficult for IMT to find, especially if they've got pushing power and they're able to move up their ward line, it becomes very difficult to find like Potluck to get an entrance to a fight, Pretty to find an entrance to a fight, barring like a good TP flank. And Joey loses a bit of creativity with his ability, because like you think, if you try to jump in as Joey just straight up, or even flash and jump in, or something like that, Demonte just is able to E you away, and suddenly your engage is just completely wasted. So like you have to be more creative with some of these champions. But if you lose your kind of placement on the map when it comes to these towers and such that have been being removed by 100 Thieves, all of a sudden your wards aren't there, you're getting spotted out ahead of time, and you don't have that level of pressure.
Yeah, exactly. As Parallel Convergence came out from Pretty, just trying to catch Poom there. Something I do want to highlight is Luger has officially crossed that 100 souls mark, which is a lot of damage coming out already from the Senna. We'll see how that works out. We do have that 20-second marker until the dragon spawns. Both these teams put a lot of focus around the objectives up to this point. With 100 Thieves Academy on Soul Point potentially here, that could be the difference in the pressure and the tempo around the map.
They're going to shove up mid lane immediately, and they're going to have a wave here as
Tenacity's
Echo
waiting.
backed in top side. Yeah, Tenacity's already on the dragon. He shoved up bot lane, so honestly, he could just try to solo this, and they could be using that. They're moving through top side vision to go towards the Baron pit, which is a really interesting little mind game as it pulls Potluck to top side, but it's Tenacity soloing this dragon. I don't know that it was fully in their intention, or if IMT wasn't able to read this at all, but still, even if it pulled a little bit of attention away from the rest of the map, impressive stuff is now...
Look how much those laser beams are doing already. He needs the tank. Tapoon has to flash away, and they found the follow-up. Tapoon's still alive for a little bit longer, but the Onslaught of Shadows comes out to make sure that is not true. Demonte gets the kill, and 100 Thieves are bearing down the mid lane.
They are third dragon. This team's got the 2,500 gold lead right now. It is all 100 Thieves for the moment. And again, there's not much you can do to counter siege right here unless you find a good Echo or a gold rel engagement. But with no Tapoon, your front line is a little bit sloppy as well.
Thought the engage was going to be there, but the World Ender immediately comes out from Tenacity, stopping any of that shenanigans. Can be... might have got himself out a little bit. Gonna have to pop the ghost. Pops the devastating charge. Trying to get away. There's Killer Instinct. And Keith gets the kill onto Kenvi.
That was a little bit overextension. Now the Baron
just doing the
Baron.
Baron.
Of IMT. That might have been exactly what they needed. They got to force a fight right here, right now. As Demonte and Tenacity both will have to TP to try to prevent this from happening.
TP in the lane a little bit far away from the Baron pit. He's got to try to make it here with the speed. There's Tenacity as well. Baron at about 5,000 health. Can they get in the pit? No Kenvi here. And the Baron is at 2,000, getting lower as the sun starts to set. There is Potluck securing the objective. Tenacity's in the pit all by himself. Demonte is caught out by Keith as the Chrono Break comes back through. The Unstoppable Onslaught came out to try to follow up, but Tapoon is not able to find it, and that's a quick 2 kills back and the Baron for IMT Academy.
Kenvi gets caught clearing a ward inside of the Baron pit, and that was enough to shift this game completely in the favor of IMT, who now hold a gold lead and a Baron buff to work with. You see Kenvi, he goes over the wall, he stops to clear this. They know this team was coming, and they maybe going this. Yeah, I think the W or the Q actually hit it, and now you see all of a sudden, instead of running directly up, instead decides to run for his own jungle, but that's close enough for Potluck to end up landing the stun. Keith gets to ult in, and now there's no smite, because the resets weren't there from Tenacity and from Demonte, so they can't even TP directly into this, as this whole river is just completely controlled by IMT, who snatched this opportunity. And yeah, you get kind of close. Tenacity tries to go over the back of the wall, but there's no vision. There's not much for them to accomplish right now. Best they could have hoped for was like a 10% chance that the W from Cinder or something grabs something, but instead, Joey finds a perfect engage angle, gets a kill onto Demonte. Tenacity went into the pit, ends up dying to Keith, and all of a sudden, 100 Thieves, everything they had worked for completely unravels.
And off the back of that, the shutdowns help as well. You get that fight, you get that advantage, you get that extra gold sack in your pocket. And as you said, IMTA coming out on top, having the lead now, having control over the map as you see them continuing to press it up.
They do. It's now the composition that should have been behind in gold to start with, because that's where 100 Thieves had let them, who get shutdowns onto Keith, who's now exceptionally powerful on the Kai'Sa, and even the Echo has started to come back on 2.5 items, nearing that Void Staff for that pressure. This becomes a little more difficult when you got Baron to siege down these different towers. This is a lot of gold coming back to IMT to compete, so this next dragon fight is going to be a lot worse than what like 100 Thieves probably should have had at this point.
We'll see what their defensive setup is here, as IMTA are definitely looking for some catch-outs, looking for some picks, as Pretty has to use that Chrono Break to get back. Just wanted to try and find Demonte off the back of it. But it looks like they're going to temper that aggression. They're going to back off a little bit, try and get some resets, and get back onto the map for this dragon.
Hey, check out this ward line they've got. This very, very amazing ward line all the way down the base right there. Kind of scouting out if they're going to move through mid. You're going to get this beautiful shot. Observers, thank you. You're smurfing right now, showing this fantastic vision line as it's near impossible to aggress against this dragon if you don't have the ability to walk in. So 100 Thieves, they're going to have a tough time approaching this. They're shoving through mid lane right now. Demonte has the ability maybe to shove out top lane, pull a tower, and then move down. They could also just choose to give up the dragon. They don't really care that much. They're not down too much in terms of gold, and their composition still scales really well into later stages of the game with this Aatrox having enough. And maybe they just give this one away. Maybe they give the possibility of IMT to come back with this dragon counting instead of forcing for the soul.
Oh my god, Pollock is so quick with that that Chem Tank Purifier, but not going to be able to find the engagement there right before they wanted to. That's the thing I was going to say, is that's the biggest scary point for me, or the thing that makes me more terrified, is like the catch outs while you're waiting for the scaling. And they have so many triggers to pull on the side of IMTA. They have, Pretty being able to get those long range engagements, the follow up from Pollock just being so quick. You have to really be careful about your positioning on the map. As you see, 100 Thieves Academy have decided to group all 5 in the mid lane.
Again, I don't know that fighting for this is perfectly in favor of 100 Thieves. I know they like this fight. It's like right on the brink of starting right now, and I know tension's climbing as this dragon might be the fight. I don't think this is the rock 100 Thieves should die on, but they apparently do, because they're going to start this one up, I think.
They want to try to get it. Tenacity's a bit split. Kenvi has to go golden here. There's the unstoppable onslaught in the middle, but Tapoon's already going to go down. They get the dragon anyway, so that's going to be 2 dragons secured for INTA, but they do lose Tapoon.
Okay, consider this, in fact. So 100 Thieves, they know for a fact that IMT is going to be going for dragons because they can't give up the soul. They don't want to give up the soul. But that means that they're always going to be in a clustered area. So 100 Thieves, if they're able to pull 1, 2, 3 kills off the back of a dragon fight, even if they give away the dragon, that's gold coming back into their pockets right there. They stole Top Boon as a kill. That's a couple hundred gold that's going to be back in their pockets. Only 1,000 gold even after the Baron buff. Maybe that's the tactic for 100 Thieves, is use these big kind of moves from IMT to take these dragons as a way to deny their soul to get some of the gold back. Maybe that's what they need. It's a perfect idea to come to execution. They have another 5 minutes until the next one's going to come through. So until that comes up, the Baron is probably the next thing we're considering in about a minute.
Yeah, and I think the fact that we are seeing that center of pressure on the map for 100 Thieves, where they can dictate kind of how these next objective fights go. You are on that soul point, as you said so nicely, mortals know they need to fight over this. It is just a cloud soul, but you can't give that over to this team composition, because you're going to be looking at Tenacity, you're going to be looking at Kenvi when they engage on you and be wondering what happened. So I really want to see how these next couple minutes pan out, because I feel like the game is on a serious knife's edge here.
It felt really heavily like it was in favor of 100 Thieves until they threw. And all of a sudden, IMT has a bunch of pressure. Ooh, onto Demonte goes Potluck. He is the fastest right now with his Chem Tank, pressing that E and pressing everything that he needs to. Didn't even need Flash to get on top of Demonte right there. Not quick enough to pull that E. Tenacity's pushing on bot side. This Baron is the setup right now from the side of IMT. TP is available for Tenacity. They're backing because they have the setup and they're just looking to spend a little bit of their gold. But this is really close to the Baron timer. They must just not be afraid at all 100 Thieves taking this one away.
I just have to be a bit worried of the positionings right now as that Baron does spawn. If the Baron goes down, that could be it for either one. They have so much strength coming off the back of one of those objective takes, one of those fights. And as you see, 100 Thieves Academy trying to get that priority in mid lane if they want to go for either of these objectives.
Keith is huge right now. You see him, he's on 4 completed items, and this is the guy that you're looking for to help carry through these fights. It's exactly the member you're looking for. So 100 Thieves, if they're looking to fight, that's who you got to put the target onto, is to make sure you find this Kaisa, because if Kaisa gets brought down, there's no chance IMT is able to take a fight whatsoever. And like you said, this Baron buff is a setup for IMT to continue this gold lead and to start pushing in ways that they couldn't before, because they're all melee. But if it's taken by 100 Thieves, all of a sudden they have wave setup to look for this Cloud Soul and to be able to kind of transition this into a little bit of a later game team fight. When Tenacity gets that movement speed buff on that Aatrox ultimate, there is not much that can run from it.
You see, it's so close to being an engagement. IMT just looking for the picks. 100 Thieves trying to get repositioned all together, Rebel. And this next fight is going to be a huge one for either side. They're both buying their time. The tension is so high, you could cut it with a butter knife. We'll see what happens in these next few minutes as both these teams, I still really love that 100 Thieves Academy are pushing up this mid lane, trying to get that priority. But here's the engagement for IMT. They want to go for the fight, potentially. Parallel convergence on the backside of it. Not going to be really used, but Pretty goes in anyways. There's the gobble up by Poom, and Luger is out. The fight's already going for 100 Thieves, and Luger pulls the Dawning Shadow trigger, as that's a huge shutdown, and 100 Thieves have stolen away the fight.
The force from Pretty to get onto the back line is completely thwarted by this Tahm Kench, who's been in a side lane all game. I feel like they've forgotten that that's why you pick him at the support role, is for that protection. So Pretty gets denied by the Tahm Kench, gets brought down by Tenacity, and the rest of this fight, there is no other damage dealer except for the likes of Keith, who ends up getting brought down as well, as there's just too much in front of him to have to deal with. That fight did not go the way IMT wanted. They end up getting ace right there. Baron's gonna go over the side of 100 Thieves, and only 1 minute out from a Cloud Drake as well means 100 Thieves have grasped control of this game once again.
And Demonte is just sitting there. I'm fine with this. You gave over everything on the map for my kill. That is completely fine. That full ace comes out. The Baron achieved by 100 Thieves Academy, and they're setting themselves up to take this game.
And IMT's racing out to try to take this this Cloud Drake, which could be a second shot. The thing is, if they grab Cloud Drake, they extend this game a little bit longer, because I don't think the base gets broken with 100 Thieves. But if they lose a fight, game's over. That's it. That's complete. That's the final buzzer going off, and that's 100 Thieves able to take the game. Even if they lose the Cloud Drake, the game continues, because Cloud Soul, it's impactful, but it's at least something you could try to play around. But if you lose a fight right here with Baron buff, there is no response to 100 Thieves. So they have to play very carefully around what they choose to do around this Cloud Soul.
Keith already starting it up. Nobody really in position. You still have Tapoon trying to come around the top of the horn as the Dragon's going to be pulled out. 100 Thieves starting this up. Immortals do not want to give over this soul. You see the fight in their eyes. You see the potential here. But Kenvi and Potluck are on the Dragon. The Dragon gets reset, buying a little bit more time for IMT. IMT take the Dragon, but what happens in the fight afterwards? 100 Thieves want to follow this up onto Pretty, but cannot find it. They pull the trigger, though. The Onslaught of Shadows, and Pretty is down.
Okay, that's real bad. So Baron buff here. It is Cloud Drake that goes over to the side of IMT, but it's complete waste, because they just do not care now on the side of 100 Thieves. You have no threat into Luger. You have no threat into Demonte, even with the likes of the Tahm Kench. They just don't have the protection to keep them both alive if he's up. But Pretty now, it does not exist. They have to play a front to back down a man, and they have to try to somehow cut through Aatrox and through this front line while Luger's still throwing autos in. I think this game's just over.
Luger is popping shots right now, and 100 Thieves are looking to join him. Dawning Shadow comes across, and IMT are routed. IMTA are going to be taken out of the Proving Grounds, and 100 Thieves Academy have stolen it away. They take down the last tower, they take down the last member, and 100 Thieves are here to stay.
Oh my goodness, 100 Thieves, they tried their best in the middle of that game to not give anything back to IMT. That one kill from Kenvi almost caught them enough to get IMT back into it. But team fight, team fight, team fight. Every time they get the 5-on-5, this team looks as electrifying as they did back when 3 of their members were on next, and they're able to continue on in the Proving Grounds.
Just the performance from Tenacity on this age. I know there's so many people we could talk about in this one, but my God, the early game from 100 Thieves, being able to pull around the map and then make those decisive calls when it mattered. You cannot expect anything less from this top tier organization.
Not even a little bit. The talent that they've been able to bring in, and you get to watch a couple of these fights as they come through. As Tenacity, this was one of the first plays in the game. They were able to shut out a fair number of members. They get that dive onto the back line. Like, this team playing as 5 members is so lethal compared to any other team. And yes, there were moments where they gave a little bit back to the opposite side. Kenvi getting caught out almost cost them. But again, when they're in these proper setups and they get what they want in terms of their fight, that's all that they need to just look so impressive. Their lanes are strong individually as players. They're really good, but it's when they come together that the sum of their parts is far too high for other teams to have to deal with. As you saw, a great example right there. Boom protecting Luger, Tenacity tearing through the mid fight, nobody able to actually do anything when Demonte goes down as IMT. They waste everything just for that one kill, and then all of a sudden this game completely flips back into the favor of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, oh my god, there's so many things going back and forth in this series, in this game, in the last game here. Like, we didn't even get the soul. We had 3 dragons apiece, but it did not matter because the calls coming out from 100 Thieves Academy were too strong. Pretty getting caught out there at the end. That feels so bad because you're not there to set up the defense for your team, and they just shove it straight through to your Nexus.
And that's all that was necessary. That last dragon fight, I'm still convinced, like, there were so many ways it could have gone, but IMT, all they had to do was not lose anybody. If they don't lose anybody around that dragon, they are able to mount a defense, you're able to continue the game, but unfortunately, because of the loss of that Echo and all the pressure and the damage it brings in the team fights, you lose out, and it's a tough loss because that was so close to the series. Even like game 1 wasn't super for them, but game 2 was dominant. Game 3 was really close, and they fought really hard. But unfortunately, they're going to end up losing out and dropping out here in the Proving Grounds as 100 Thieves gets to continue advancing. That team has excited me from day one, and I'm very, very ready to see what they can do eventually. Yeah,
I couldn't be more excited to see 100 Thieves. I just love it. Like, and a little bit of that history with the 3 next players coming through, still seeing them in the scene, still seeing them being able to succeed in the ways that we've seen them succeed for so long. But I gotta, as you were kind of saying, we got to turn our attention a little bit more to IMTA. I think they've had a really good run up to this point. I think they've had a really strong, at least showing as a team, as an organization here in the Proving Grounds. And yes, it's sad to see them leave, but there are so many promising names on this squad, especially, I know he got caught out the last little bit. Pretty going down was a huge piece to why 100 Thieves were able to take that game, but being able to see him perform in that game 2, being able to see him perform in that game 3 on the Echo, like, there's so many pieces to this team that look good going on in the future.
IMT's got a lot to build on. I think that's absolutely true. Like I said, it's a tough loss to swallow if you're on the side of IMT compared to 100 Thieves, but you absolutely have the players there. I want to see them continue. Like, when you've got Topoon and you've got Pretty, these are players that could absolutely continue to develop and become very, very big mainstays within professional leagues anywhere, and especially within this academy scene. They look amazing against just about any matchup. So IMT, there's plenty to be proud of, despite what might be considered an early departure. Obviously, you don't want to lose this early. No one wants to lose this early, but your competition's there as well. So let this inspire you, I suppose. Let this be the fire that burns to continue your development for these younger players, for these new guys that you're able to bring in from apart, because when it's together, it looks real good.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, I really hope that veterancy for the 3 members, Potluck, Keith, and Joey, like, that comes to fruition here for them, because it's tough taking a loss like this. It's tough getting knocked out, but having that veterancy, having players that have kind of been through those moments, and being able to, like, pick yourself up by the bootstraps and continue grinding, continue growing, is what I want to see from IMTA. Like, I need to see it, because I need to see these players again. They are so good when they're all together, when they're performing well, and I hope so that come around summertime, we're looking just as strong.
Yeah, and even more excited to see 100 Thieves continue to perform up against other Academy teams, because, again, set our expectations high during the Academy Series, set our expectations high during Northern Arena, and now they were close to getting knocked out, but they're not going to fall yet, so they're going to continue on in the tournament and get to play up against their opposition of the second series of the night when that gets to the chance. But congrats to 100 Thieves, who made, again, every one of their players excites me, every one of their team fights excites me. They got some things to clean up, but this team looks real good when they're together.
I hope the aggression stays key. I will look into that second game a little bit. I hope for them, because I do think that there were some things to clean up in that aspect, maybe a little confidence coming out in that draft, but I still think they had the right ideas right in that one. And so you can still pull a lot of experience away from that one and realize why you lost kind of in the earlier game against IMTA. But the other 2 games, smashing. The decisions around the team fights, the objective controls, that kind of stuff was to a T.
That it was. We're getting a chance actually to talk to one of these 100 Thieves players, Mr. Mazel.
We are.
Are you excited?
And, yeah, it's going to be a great time. I'm really excited to hear who we are going to be getting at some point, as we will be getting that interview ready for you all, and ready for us at least. But I do want to go back to why we're here, right? Proving Grounds as a whole has been a really incredible moment in terms of seeing the semi-pro action, seeing the connectivity between the academy scene and these amateur scenes, and really getting these teams putting their all here. Like, this is an elimination match. These are academy teams. Like, that is insane that we're seeing one of these teams knock out, especially in IMTA, who have been one of the strong seeds, were one of those strong seeds, and kind of fall out here. But like, the fact of the matter is, like, this whole proving grounds has been a bang.
That's a fantastic way to put it. I would say specifically, it's really cool to get to see teams inside of a tournament setting instead of side of a season setting. So it's like, okay, Academy used to be 10 teams. They do double round robin. It feels like during the middle of the weeks where you go like week 3 to like week 6 or something like that. It's like, oh, we lost the game. Like, oh, we lost the game. Where now it's like do or die, making sure that you absolutely have to play your top every single day. And the games are stacked and it's tough trying to do like like scouting and that. It got a little bonusy, especially for like amateur teams and academy teams. So they're playing each other in this cross map. There's plenty to work out, right? But like seeing them in these do or die moments, seeing these teams have to fight for their lives, it's what gets us the ability to see what these teams are actually made of. And I think that's the coolest part, is getting to see what these teams are really made of when they're right at the precipice of being able to step into the professional level for LCS. Because we don't get this that often. When you're playing on the world stage, you're not playing a whole season, you're not playing a double round robin, you're playing for your life every single game. And that's the kind of, I think that's the development that we need for some of our younger players when they want to step into the professional scene.
Well, and just, the stress of going through these moments really builds onto that and really helps you kind of shore up those weaknesses. It is stressful. It is a long slog. There's a lot of things to go through, but it means a lot, at least, to be able to pull those away and kind of come through with some advantages. But I've gotten word, Mr. Rebel, that we're going to be getting our interview now. It will be 100 Thieves DeMonte coming in for the Verizon post-game interview. DeMonte, my man, how you feeling after that banger of a series, that boxing match of a series, if you will?
Yeah, that was a crazy best of 3 for sure. I think one of the craziest I've ever played.
I can absolutely see it. I have to say, I was very happy to see the performance in game number 1, just the shellacking that you guys were able to deliver to IMTA. Then a little bit of faltering in the gameplay, at least in game number 2, but coming out strong game number 3. That extremely tilted match right there, back and forth over and over again. The one question I want to ask, like at the end there, when you guys caught pretty, was it immediately everybody saying go go go, we got the game, or what?
Yeah, I mean, once we caught pretty, I think. I just told my team, I was like, we knew Kaisa had no flash from last fight, and I still had flash from last fight, so I just said, if I have the angle, I'm going to flash on Kaisa and try to kill her. And after we took the inhibitor, the call was just basically like, let's look to end one time. Like, let's just look for it one time. If it doesn't work, we'll back up. And it ended up working, so we got the end, yeah.
Now, I have a little bit of a different question for you because I'm really excited about this. You step onto this 100 Thieves roster with a bit of veterancy, having played for like the 100 Thieves roster and a couple of other professional teams, but you're playing with players who have come through now a more modern kind of farm system, despite that you came through Challenger Series. So what would you say the big difference between your upbringing, getting you into professional league, compared to these new guys like Ken V, Tenacity, who stepped in?
Shoot, I back in the day, it used to be a lot different for sure. It used to be more of like I want to say like underground almost, more of like a come up through the struggle. But I feel like now a lot of the kids coming up now, they really get some good treatment, and I think it'll like speed up the process of these players a lot. So I feel like a lot of these players that I'm playing with right now, and even the ones that I'm playing against, I think a ton of them have a lot of potential, and it's honestly pretty nice to see, because I haven't been around the academy scene, haven't been paying attention to it really, but I kind of realized that these players are honestly good. The only things that they're really missing is like, I would say the like macro and just like how to play the game like intelligently rather than just with mechanics,
I like it. I like to see that kind of difference in like the viewpoints and how these things kind of work out so far. And being a part of this proving ground so far, like it's been a slog, right? It's been, you guys have been performing so well in certain aspects of it, but going forward, you're either going to be facing Golden Guardians Academy or Zeus Gaming, and going into that match, you've got this match happening after this best of 3 afterwards, but like, what are your guys' mindsets going into that one? Is there somebody that you particularly want to face? Is there anything that's really standing out to you to either of those matchups?
I think it'd be fun to play against Zeus Gaming, because Alarim has been like a longtime friend of mine. I've you're talking about the Academy Challenger Series thing, right? I think like almost 6 years ago now, I played on a team with Alarim, so I think it'd be pretty fun to play against him. I think that'll be a cool matchup.
All right, you hear it. Devontae's rooting for that Zeus Gaming matchup there in the next round. But one last little thing. Do you have anybody on your team you want to give a huge shout out to? Anybody you want to talk about? Because it's been an incredible run from you guys.
Honestly, shout out to everyone. Shout out to Golden Glue as well. I think everyone's putting in a lot of work, and they've been working hard for about 4 months now, 4 or 5 months straight. So yeah, it's the grind out here for sure, and hopefully we'll run the losers bracket. Honestly.
Hey, I love to hear it. Thank you so much, Devontae, for the words, and appreciate it. Go celebrate this win, but get ready for that next match.
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone. That was our post-game interview presented by Verizon. Now we get to look at our brackets. We get to look at a little bit of the setup, a little bit of the spice that could be coming out. We're going to be getting into that Zeus Golden Guardians matchup later on today, but 100 Thieves Academy have set themselves up in that third round of the losers bracket.
That they have. Getting a chance to play up against Zeus or GGA should be exciting, especially given their kind of propensity to go for these 5-on-5s. You think about we'll get a chance to talk about it, but I know both these teams that we're going to see soon also like that. So we're bound to get an explosive matchup no matter who their opponent is, as 100 Thieves take the day to. One did a phenomenal set of jobs in their first and third game to be able to clutch that one out. And these youngsters, they're looking good. The Demonte, obviously, the head being able to help develop
looking
them
so good,
as far as oh yeah, absolutely.
Appreciated that little interview we got to have with Demonte. Always good to see the veterancy status coming through. But again, we're going to take a little break. We're going to step away. And when we come back, you've got to be here because we've got Golden Guardians Academy taking on Zeus Gaming, the Toilet Paper Cats. Welcome back to the LCS Proving Grounds powered by Verizon. I am Mazel once again with Rebel Fox as we're going to be getting into our second series of the evening. We had a banger of a first one, a boxing match if you will, and now we get to GG Gaming or GG Academy at least against Zeus Gaming with some basketball masterminds versus some toilet paper cats.
That we do. That's
I have my money on the toilet paper cats, but that's just because I like cats.
The fact that team, like, they got a logo at the beginning of everything was just hysterical. Like, their logo's been around for so long, and this team has been a mainstay within amateur. They started off on a little bit lesser of a foot, and now they get to play against GGA inside of the later stages of these tournament, where we get to take a look at both these rosters. Yeah, it's going to be a good time as you get to see those rosters come across the bottom. Very no names, not no names for both sides. We got a lot of things going for both of these squads, and a lot of differences in play styles, right, Rebel? That we do. We see GGA. This is a team that's got a lot of young players, something that's consistent through both teams. But the big thing that they love to do is their game time very high. They like to play more for the team fighting. They like to play for the later stages of the game, and they love to play to this bottom side. Prismal, exceptional player. I've heard him called as much as like the Uzi, or to call this team like a 2018 RNG, where they just play so much to bottom side. And I think there's a lot of favor to that, as Prismal's exceptionally talented. And I, for one, am one of Chime's biggest fans. I think he's exceptional. I was following him before he was on Supernova back over a year ago when he had stepped into the amateur scene. Big Chime fan. On the other side, it's toilet paper cat. What are we supposed to say about that one?
Hey, I gotta say, I have a lot to say about Zeus Game. They've had some serious depth to their compositions, to the way they like to play the game, and honestly, the run that they've had to do throughout the entirety of like the Proving Grounds circuit, all the way to the Proving Grounds. Like, we get to see a little bit of the stats that dictate how these teams typically like to go for it. You have that FD percentage of 74 to 63 there. A lot of that first dragon percentage is going to be contested. You're getting a lot of that focus from both these teams around the early advantages for themselves.
Notice, if you will, though, Golden Guardians is always down some gold. They're down almost 1,000 gold at 15 minutes. This is a later scaling team. They won't play for the early fire. They won't play for a lot of the early stuff. They're going to be waiting to scale a little bit. Yes, their first dragon percentage is high, mostly due to the fact that if you're able to secure some of the early dragons in the game, then Golden Guardians gets more time. They get 5 more minutes every dragon they take to continue scaling up into the later stages. So Zeus, I feel like they have a few tasks ahead of them when it comes to how this game should play out. One of them is controlling these early objectives. If Golden Guardians is going to make sure that they're drafting for scaling, then it's Zeus Gaming's job to make sure that they're punishing that accordingly.
Exactly, as we're going to be looking at the matchup that I feel like and that we've talked about is going to be very integral to how both these teams want to go. It's the captain versus the top laner for GGA. We've got Alorum having the veterancy status on this squad, being this mainstay to how they want to play and really in the way that they kind of call their shots around the map. And Tally having aggression to his name, having some differentials in the top lane go his way, and being a piece for GGA to build off of.
I feel like these two, they have really good stats, and they've been performing at a very high level for their teams. And then, like you said, Alorum has he's been the development point for this entire roster. Where you step in with, like, you think of RBM, you think of Darkwings, you think of Raheen. They're players who have played some competitive, but didn't have a ton of this highest level experience until they stepped into the split. And that's what Alorum and to some extent Rhino have been able to accomplish. Whereas on the other side, Tally, exceptional player, was on Legacy Esports, who went to Worlds as well as Top Boon, back into his original role on that top side and able to step back in. I believe is currently one of, if not the highest performing based on some metrics in terms of top lane compared to anyone else in the entire tournament. Tally, exceptionally good on that top side. Alorum in the same exact boat, and the importance that these two have to their teams. It might not be indicative in terms of the one-on-one laning phase, but outside of it, Yeah, these two have so much.
That's where it really matters, right? That's where we see the influence for both these guys so heavily be in the way that kind of the team fights end up being out, and especially the TP plays. You know, Lorem always having those crazy ones, always getting the flanks, always finding those avenues, but Tally having a lot of the same. And now we got to focus down to one player that we definitely wanted to give a little bit of a highlight to, and one player who's been really popping off for his team, and that's got to be Prismal for GGA.
Hey, like we said, Prismal has got some insane stats when it comes to damage percentage, kill percentage, KDA, things like that, leading a lot of the players that have come through in terms of this tournament specifically. And Prismal has absolutely shown up when Golden Guardians need him to. When a team plays around the later game, you have to expect mid laner, and then of course ADC are going to be that pivotal role.
Yeah.
The reason they can build for that late game is because Prismal exists. I think Raheen has got his hands full for this bottom side. Raheen's a great player. We've known him specifically for a very long time back in his UCL and some of the Diamond League days, and he's come a very long distance, exceptional player, but this is one of the hardest matchups you could have at the tournament.
And I think that's where, like, when we zoom out, we look at these, and we got to see the roster's totality earlier, but like you have a lot of singular pieces that have a lot of volatility, at least for Zeus Gaming. You have, like, if they're all performing, if they're all on the same page, if they're all getting those mechanics down, Dark Wings can be a menace. Raheen can completely carry games through the ADC position, and the other pieces kind of align in that fashion as well. Whereas on the side of Golden Guardians Academy, you know, you do have these strong solo pieces. You have these individual outplays that are available, but it's when it all comes together.
Yeah, what's nice also is I've actually gotten a chance to talk with Incon, because Incon and also RBM are out of MSU. They're out of the Northern Conference in CELO, where Maryville, of course, is. That's where I go to school. So I got a chance to talk to them about what they feel about the series and that kind of thing. They gave some powerful words talking about how Advantage could be nice, thinking about some other things. One of the most important things they told me, they said teams have been too conservative with drafts. They said something spicy might be on the horizon, and I'm excited to see what that means.
Well, that leads us perfectly into it, as we're going to be getting into draft number 1 between Golden Guardians Academy and Zeus Gaming. Zeus Gaming on that blue side, GGA on the red, and we already get some very particular bans. We got the TF coming off the board, first ban away by Zeus Gaming, and the typical Udyr has to come off the board by GGA.
Can we also quickly, just before we get out of bans, talk about how incredible these two teams have developed over the season? When, like, Golden Guardians, they started in 9th place, now all of a sudden are getting further and further within this tournament. And Zeus started off in their first tournament. They got completely blown out in the semifinals of the Risen qualifier in the Tier 2, and they have come back to be one of the best teams, being able to beat, like, NoOrg, who used to be their sister team, who's the #1 team, and, even taking C9 Academy, the #1 team in the tournament, to 3 full games. You gotta love the way that this team has been able to come back, and the way that GG Academy, when you looked at these players at the beginning of the split, not a bunch of people thought they were going to have a bunch, but they very clearly developed in their own way, and both these teams look much better than where we saw them start.
Exactly. And speaking of that, right, Zeus Gaming coming off a little fiery fight against that C9 Academy team, and wanting to kind of prove themselves, wanting to realize that wasn't just a potential, that they could have taken that serious, and they got to do so against GGA here, because again, we're in another elimination match, Rebel. Like, this is it. This is the start of a best of 3 elimination for one of these teams. And as we're getting into the picks and bans, as we're getting into these picks, Zeus Gaming pull the trigger on the Jinx, get a little bit of that extra damage, that potential skirmishing going in the bot lane, but it's answered to by GGA with the Rel and the Lilia.
I'm curious, Zeus Gaming has had the opportunity to scout some of GGA, and GGA doesn't play like Udyr and Hecarim, so on red side it makes some sense, but you knew that this was coming because there's not a ton of that for Rosethorn, who plays a lot more of the Lily, a lot more of the carries and things like that. So I'm curious what bot lane or what jungler they're going to opt for here, because they have the opportunity to play into the likes of Lilia. Jinx Braum, fantastic lane, can get some aggression, but it does scale a little bit. Jinx obviously fantastic in the later stages and good in the team fight, but it's not aggressive. It's not something that'll get Jinx ahead most of the time without jungle interference. Into the Rel, very defensive, making sure that that's not going to come through.
Yeah, I really like this combo down on the bot line. For Zeus, they do lock in the Orianna, so furthering that combo. They just need a ball delivery system now. We got to expect that to be coming out in that second round, or that second phase, rather, as last ban or last pick here for GGA is going to be very important to how these next series kind of lay out. And this is a pick that we haven't gotten to see at all today. Finally going to make its face known, as Gnar is the last pickup in that first phase for GGA.
One of the most played champions here for Tally as well, which makes some sense. I will say drafting it here does mean you're taking it blind, and you're picking it into Alorem, who has some pretty nasty champions that he can play into it. So you have given that ability. So I think if you're GGA, you got to pinch off the pool right here. You got to make sure that that's not going to come out. Gnar is one of those picks. And you think, like, I think Urgot's another one that's like pretty good into Gnar to be able to put that aggression in. So that's something you have to consider because Lorem is a fantastic Urgot player among all of their things. They have not picked a mid laner and they have not picked an ADC yet. And an ADC pinch could really be disastrous for GGA. If you take away things like the Kai'Sa and you take away other really scaling picks from Prismal, you're not going to find it. But instead, they're just taking away from Yunbi.
They want to give Darkwings the most tools available to him. Want to take away that rise, potential scaling factor for Yunbi. I feel like Yunbi has had a very strong, at least, presence on GGA, and especially in that mid lane. Like, if he gets down, yes, that feels bad, and you can't really play around the pressure points through the mid lane. But if you can get ahead, if you can let Rosethorn kind of go through and establish some presence early on the Lilia, that can work out really well. So I really want to know what Yunbi is going to be looking to pick here in this second phase.
Yeah, especially because you see the Orianna. That's certainly going to be their snag here at the beginning of this phase, is they want to be able to counterpick the Orianna and wait on their ADC. Although they do see both, so it doesn't really matter.
I was going to say, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But what they want to do specifically is they want to make sure that whatever they're saving is something that's going to be either pivotal to their composition or they need more time to consider, which I think if it's confusion, probably should be mid lane, to be quite honest, is they're trying to pick exactly what they're going to do. ADC, Kai'Sa's still available. I'm just saying, there's still a lot of ability to play that.
Still available as well. I like the Victor coming in. It's something we saw in that first series as well. But I do want to focus, like, we had more mid lane bans come out from Zeus and a heavy jungle focus come out from GGA. So obvious where their prep is going, where their thoughts are going, especially going into that second phase.
Okay, so GGA is actually really squishy right now, so it's not shocking to see, like, the Malphite hover is huge because that's a good play into the Gnar. And if you've got this massive front line, it's kind of difficult because you have CC for years with the Braum and the Malphite to come through, as that is going to get locked in as well from the side of Zeus Gaming. So now I think they need a little more damage in their jungle position. I'm curious what kind of creativity they might have with this pick, as they've seen the Lilia for a very long time. Nidalee is something we've seen before, although I don't think it's a particularly RBM type champion.
I will say I love that they're giving the go button to their captain, to the top man, to the man they're all saluting. They're giving him the Malphite Mountain here for Lorem, something that he's been able to perform on well in the past. And they also pair it with the Kayn, potential early game skirmishes, early game presence from RBM.
Yeah, you really want to get aggressive. This is something you see in a lot of regions, which is this Kayn response into the Lilia as it clears really fast, and when you interact with it, it's nice. Also, given just how squishy this composition is on the side of GG Academy, like if you have an untransformed Gnar, like Rel is your best frontline, and that's a support. You don't necessarily want that to be the case pretty much ever. And while Chime plays a very good Rel, like, if you've got nobody to stop Blue Kayn from just ripping your team to pieces, there might be some problems from GGA. So this has to be a composition that they are constantly putting pressure on with around in some of these team fights and really heavily playing around that Gnar bar from Tally.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that matchup, Lorem versus Tally and top set, how it's going to kind of influence the rest of the map, those TP plays, those movements in the objective fights. But the other thing I want to highlight here is the Xayah for Prismal. You talked about the squishiness, you talked about the potential for early advantages for Zeus Gaming. Xayah is the perfect pick for Prismal. You have that duo combo in the Rel Xayah down there, but you also have the Featherstorm to keep you from some of that aggression, to save you, to buy some time in those fights. And Xayah herself is no slouch on the damage.
Yeah, if you look at Zeus Gaming, their composition doesn't lie to you. It doesn't make any weird, strange directions. It's very clear. Malphite ultimate, Orianna ultimate, AoE from Kayn, rockets from Jinx. This is a straightforward composition. You know exactly what's coming at you. The best you could hope for is some shenanigans to come out with Kayn when he flanks through walls, as this assassin can find some breakdown. But for the most part, Zeus is going for a very solid teamfight comp, and I feel like they spike a little bit easier, especially if Braum's able to get out and about on the map to make some aggression against these squishy laners.
Yeah, it's going to mean a lot of the mechanical ability for both of these squads. It's going to be a lot about that early fighting, that early skirmishing, that early objective control for both these teams to start off on the right foot of this best of three, an elimination best of three here in the LCS Proving Grounds as we hit Summoner's Rift for the fight between Golden Guardians Academy and Zeus Gaming.
Also, notice, if you will, Like, Kayn has, it's almost certainly going to be blue Kayn, and there's like 4 range champions on this team. So like, stacking those orbs is literally just a matter of attacking anybody on the map, and you should be perfectly fine. Notice, if you will, also Rosethorn opts for the Predator. I know it's something that some junglers have been going towards, including the Lilia, so it's not super shocking, but it isn't the standard Phase Rush or the Dark Harvest that you see pretty commonly. Instead, it is going to be the really heavy ganking tool. So maybe some more early game here to come out from the side of GG. If they play this kind of reserved style, you've got okay scaling, but it's really tough to play a 5-on-5 into an Orianna Malphite. So I do have some questions about whether GG actually wants to take this very late into the game, especially if Raheen starts to pick up some rockets or pick up some items, because then the damage is really going to start going in.
I look at this early game and I wonder where the pieces are going to lay, where the pieces are going to fall. We do get the same start from both junglers. Obviously, Kayn gets to do his own jungle camp, gets to secure his own chicky nuggies, but it will be more of that focus towards potentially the mid lane or that top lane, the solo lanes for today.
It might. We will see. I noticed something about Zeus in their series up against TSM, which is that in their game 3, which was one of the cleanest games I would say in any team had for the entire tournament, they used a lot of the pressure they had in the jungle to try to break out Darkwings and get him interacting on the map. These two mid laners are some of the lowest presence across the map in terms of proving grounds alone, with like sub 60%, somewhere in the low 50s% in terms of kill participation with their team. I think maybe even 40% of one of them might be. And they're very low. They're like bottom 3 in terms of mid laners. So getting that interaction or forcing that by doing the same thing we saw in the previous series where Damonte was getting broken out by Kenvi sometimes might be the move here from the side of Zeus, especially if they want to attack this late game team early.
That's the key here, I feel like, for especially setting yourself up for Zeus and building that confidence that we saw be so important in that first series between the two Immortals Academy and 100 Thieves Academy. But I still think that's going to be a lot of what we see here today. Alorm taking a heavy trade from Tally early on from the Mega Gnar as well, but nothing going to come of it too soon. You're definitely waiting till level 6s for things to really start firing off.
There you are. And plenty of sustain with Corrupting Potion and Biscuits to come out from the Malphite. So you're not super worried about a bunch of the trade damage that comes out when that shield is up as well. Pretty easy to do. Tally's going to use this pressure, find out where RBM is at. As RBM gets caught out with his in his jungle, walking towards mid lane, trying to help out Darkwings, make sure that this Victor cannot just free push into this laning phase. Take some auto attacks from Yunbi, burning the mana pool. As Lilia is also crossing back, they really want to interact with this Kayn right now. Bottom lane pressure is here, though. You absolutely could take this if you're on the side of Zeus Gaming, as GGA doesn't have the ability to move their bot lane fast enough.
Hey, we said some skirmishing early. That's what we're getting here. As they have caught Raheen, he has to flash away with the heal, but is he still going to go down? First blood goes to Chime, and they follow it up with a second double shot for GGA.
Darkwings took too much damage and burnt too much of his mana pool, and because of that, that means that Victor gets to move down a lot faster. In the bottom lane here, it was faster rotation from Zeus, but Prismal and Chime were able to get that lave pushed out enough to walk up the river and contest against this. They're trying to put some damage into RBM, and it worked so far, as you see right here. Again, look at this collapse. There is nowhere for this team to go. Zeus has really much no ability to take this fight. Yeah, Raheen also ends up going down to the likes of this Feather Pole, and then an additional kill onto RBM is really tough for their early game here. As GGA, who's on standard, we saw having a gold disadvantage at 15 is the first to strike.
I honestly am very surprised to see the movements, and honestly very surprised to not see the early game from Zeus come out on top. I mean, they had a Braum Jinx, but they just get collapsed on too quickly. Chime so clutch with that flash over the Braum onto Raheen, who had to immediately flash away. And after that, you know, Zeus are kind of scattered. They're not really set up to really continue that fight, and they get caught out. And aggression early, keeping the Kayn down, keeping Raheen down. Exactly what we wanted from GGA.
Always make sure to check your watch because it's chime time, and you do not want to play against him when it is chime time, baby. As bad as I want the Bard to come out, he is exceptional in a number of different champions. If he plays Bard, I might actually just fangirl this.
The Rel is just too OP, man. Rel is just too OP.
Like, everybody's OP. Nobody's playing Bard, unfortunately, which is unfortunate, but there's not much to be said about that.
As RBM goes for a bit of an invade with the rest of his team. I do like the movement from Rhino. I do love to see Darkwings able to kind of roam away from this mid lane where he's getting a bit traded down onto by Yunbi in most instances, but nothing comes of it. And that's one of the things that can really be a detriment to Zeus Gaming is when you do commit those resources, when you do commit that time and come away with nothing.
Yes, when their early plays and when their gold lead, I think, is really shrunk early on, and they're losing the game, I think that's a version of Zeus that we don't typically want to see. Only because they play really well from ahead, and they play very, very adequately when they're even with another team. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, it doesn't have level 6. Is forced to flash out of that combo. As Rosethorn didn't have level 6 either. No lilting lullaby to follow it up, but they did have a lot of damage to deal onto Alorum.
That they do. This Zeus composition has to come together really quickly because once you get the level 6s for Alorum and once you get the level 6 for Darkwings, that's when this like team fight, this 5-on-5 can really start to pop. But before that moment, these individual lanes they're not particularly fun. That's what the Victor was for. Xayah is a lot more of an early champion than something like the Jinx, and then the Gnar. Like you get poked out by the likes of the Malphite sometimes, and once the early armor's in, it's a lot harder to do that damage. But it's still something to consider here if you're on the side of GGA, that your lanes are pretty good. So attacking them consistently with Rosethorn, it goes against what they've been doing most of the tournament, but it is something that could work for them very easily in this game as they're looking for first dragon. 3 members on bottom side for Zeus are going to dissuade that from happening. Just going to be a little bit of a walk around to make sure they're not going to get caught.
And Golden Guardians Academy just testing the water, seeing if they could get away with that dragon take. Saw the move up by Zeus and did not want to pull the trigger on it. So we'll be back to farming for both these junglers, still wanting to see RBM get some of this essence going.
You had that first fight, which was nice. You got to find some ganks. Again, finding Blue Kayn as fast as possible alongside the Umbral Glaive gives you a number of ways that you can actually fight within this lane, because you get to control wards, you get to actually have some lethality to start off your laning phase, you do crazy damage once you get some of that lethality going. So I agree with you. Like I don't want to see a 15-minute transformation, 20-minute transformation, anything like that for the side of RBM. I got to see what he can do to get active to begin so that you can get that transformation as fast as possible, because that's when Kayn becomes a real threat.
And as Golden Guardians Academy sweep out of the bot lane, Zeus sweep in to get this dragon. We'll get that first objective for themselves, setting them up with a little bit of armor and magic resist in that aspect. But you already see pings coming down towards that Rift Herald, spawning in about 10 seconds. Could see some more objective focus and some more skirmishing come out early on.
What is it, even right now? I'm walking for Darkwings. He was kind of poking around in the area of Rosethorn. I think just kind of being a pest around Rosethorn, being able to take the topside scuttle, as well as dropping that ward in the river. So there's quite a bit of control around this top side. And you see the rotations coming out from the likes of Zeus. It's only Chime that's going to be here. This will be a 4v5 with this Malphite Orianna online. I do not like this for GGA. They might be in some dire straits right now.
It's setting up for a bit of a tussle here. Tally taking some serious damage from the Rift Herald. Has to get out of there. So Zeus move in to pull and push here, at least for both these squads. Actually, they're going to stay on the Rift Herald. So this could just be back-to-back objectives for Zeus Gaming.
Yeah, nice little catch out right there. Again, because Xayah doesn't move and it's only Chime moving compared to the rotation from Raheen and Rhino, they have to stay up on top side to be able to snag that one. And Rift Herald is going to go the way of Zeus. This is okay for Golden Guardians. They're okay giving away the earlier pressure. This is a team that's used to playing late, so I'm sure they're absolutely fine taking a bit of a gold deficit because they were able to trade a number of plates on top side for Prismal right there. You're comfortable putting gold into his pockets, as well as, again, no interaction for RBM means no souls collected, which means that there's no essence going, which means that there's no transformation to come. So you're absolutely fine. If Raheen picks up this solo gold, this might be mildly problematic when the team fight starts, but I still feel like GGA, they knew what was going to happen, and they were perfectly accepting of it.
I like the ingenuity by Raheen, just getting the cross shot on a Prismal. Not able to get too much damage on him. Not able to really clear the minion wave as you were trying to do with that AoE, but do get the tower. So that's going to feel really nice, as you said, getting the solo gold for Raheen and at least pulling something back in this early game.
Yeah, the battle of ADCs is one we highlighted. Prismal is likely to be the favorite because of his abilities and what we saw from him on that stat sheet. But Raheen, again, absolutely no slouch. Fantastic team fighting ADC, has just really, really good mechanics when you get into that stage. And Jinx is a perfect champion to match when it comes to that big AoE crit with the rockets that are going to be coming out when Runans gets built and you're hitting 3 people with rockets at once, especially after an engage from a Malphite and from an Orianna. That type of burst damage is difficult to deal with when you don't really have somebody that can soak that. The best you can hope for is a couple of Zonias to come out from like Yunbi and Rosethorn, and then maybe Tally in ultimate form can absolutely try to sustain that, but that's the best you could look for from the side of GGA. As like you said, the early objectives have gone to Zeus. It's okay for GGA. The gold lead's only about 1,000 compared to the 2,000 was just a minute ago. But see, again, RBM still has yet to make any moves on the map to find that essence and get that transformation going.
And I love that you bring that back up because I was going to circle right back to it and the fact that, like, it is real rough when you don't see a Kayn being effective early on, and Rhino needs to get out of there. Gets a lot of healing back for it. Flash forward from Chime, though, trying to get the kill onto Rhino. Can he get it? That's the burn. Chime gets the kill, and on the backside of it, RBM goes down 2. That's a 3-kill spree for Golden Guardians Academy, and they're following up onto Alorum. Do they have the damage, though? Chime getting real low to the mountain, and he's not going to go down just yet. Finally does, and the re-engage as the unstoppable force from Alorum helps get the shutdown for Darkwing.
The unstoppable force from Alorum was down. Actually, Yunbi's going to try to catch him out.
Yunbi's going to die.
He wins this.
Oh my God, Prisma coming up just in case they want to overextend, but a back and forth fight, a back and forth tussle.
Rocket!
Still coming up both ways. That rocket was so close.
Oh, that's painful. It's unfortunate Raheen misses that one because that might have been a really big turner right there. Like, it was Alorum who didn't have the ultimate to start the fight, and they weren't able to link up him and Darkwings to begin that one. I think that might have been a massive game changer right here within the confines of this fight, as it's another contested Scuttle Crab. Rhino goes down very quickly. No level 6 either for the Braum, so really can't do much. The strapline tries to help as Raheen gets something, but Prismal gets to free fire for a second before Alorum's in his face, and this fight gets split where Rosethorn's just kind of picking apart members on the backside. And here's where things really break apart, because Alorum, again, waiting for this ultimate timer. Him and Darkwings are able to take this duel. Nobody's committing with Chime right now.
Yeah, nobody.
They got a couple of members, so just left in the pit to his own devices. The stun comes through, but nothing really left to fight with as Rosethorn gets caught in the ultimate as well.
Man.
And that combination from the Malphite and the Orion is enough to bring them down. Then Yunbi just gets to throw a trap line. It is what it is. So one fight from GGA, but again, when you pair those ultimates, there is some lethality to come out from the side of Zeus's Comb.
That wombo combo ain't no joke, Rebel. You gotta be real careful about those timers. I'm wondering if that's what was happening, GGA, just knowing that the timer was potentially coming up very shortly for Alorum. But it is the heads-up play, the pullback, the scratch back of gold for Zeus Gaming off the back of that fight that looked completely one-sided for GGA. But luckily, off the back of these two single players, they were able to individually get the lead.
And thankfully, Darkwings was able to get that ultimate up, find a good place for it, and pick out the kill. So, like, it's Darkwings who's really well known. I would say probably the most well known of the 3 rookies that are on this team when it comes to having won that, like, the Red Bull, like, one-on-one tournament, and is a phenomenal player in that regard. Came out a little rough at the beginning. Probably was the most raw of the players they ended up picking up, but is it kind of come into his own as this exceptional team fighter that's come through, and that's why the Oriana is so famous for him, is he can hit some mean ultimates and do some pretty nice things on these kind of control mage type picks. So having that's not something to scoff at. Yes, it's a 2,000 or 1,500 gold lead for GGA, but Zeus is not out of it by any standard. They still have a really good team fight to have. They tied the dragon count now for GGA, so it's a 3 dragon stack for either side. As once this game starts to break into more team fighting, I feel as though that's when we're really going to start to see who this game is starting to favor.
Yeah, I think the lead helps GGA a lot, and I think both compositions are leaning towards these moments. The only thing I will say, like, when you look at Golden Guardians Academy, look at the full spread of their composition, it looks good in no matter what team fight you're going into, right? You have a lot of AoE, you have a lot of positioning, you have a lot of spacing to deal with and to work with, at least. On the other side, if RBM can't find a lead, you're getting these flanks on this Kayn, you know, you're getting that kind of aspect of it, but you can't find the kills. And so that leaves the 4 other members there to take those team fights to try and turn those around. And I think that's the biggest worry right now for Zeus Gaming for me.
Their composition as a 4-man fight is still really strong, though.
It is, and the wombo combo can't be denied, right? Like, you've got the shockwave on top of the unstoppable force. Like, that is going to be insane layered in there with the glacial fissure and everything else. But it's still things to look at when you're going into those fights, into those 5v5 moments, because you know that RBM is going to be looking for flanks.
I mean, yeah, you're going to be able to see his AoE damage is going to be something he wants, and to find any of these carries that are separated from everybody else is going to be pretty much an immediate execution from the likes of this Zeus jungler. So I will give you that in that, like if RBM isn't strong enough, maybe you can't find that, so then it's just down to the 4-on-4. It might be easier for the side of GGA to tackle. And right now, especially with like you said, the Xayah, lots of protection with the ultimate, with the Gale Force, with the flash, with the heal, everything to come through is really hard to try to kill this Xayah with just this one combo. That's perhaps the one member you need to catch with it, and yet it's the hardest to hit with the likes of the Malphite and the Oriana ultimate. And it's Prismal that can absolutely carry them through a lot of this with the consistent damage that Xayah is going to be able to bring. strength. Extremely powerful champion, and Prismal doing fantastic with it already.
I have found a little bit of a corridor here. Got to be really careful with that Lilting Lullaby setting up the fight for Rose Thorn. But Zeus realized where they're at, realized the predicament they're in, and back off of it to try and get some more priority back in this mid lane for Raheen. Try to get some vision around this Rift Herald pit.
They do. And the river is contestable, controlled by the side of GGA, but contestable to say the least, which means why they're not going to walk in. And again, clustering or like moving your members together as like a 4 or 5 man unit for GGA is pretty much the wrong choice at all points, especially when Alorum is off the map, which is what's happening right now. They're trying to clear out vision to move Alorum into the top river, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Is it looks like the Rift Herald is going to be prioritized over bot tower health, which is like if Nara were just there, they can absolutely take that one. And the minions actually might be able to just kill it, but they will get at least the Rift Herald to pull some additional gold off the map when that time comes.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of a tool moving forward. You know, you do have this first dragon of this Infernal Soul coming up in about a minute and a half. I always love those plays, Rebel. I love seeing the setup that can be done with a Rift Herald, the pressure that you can relieve, the distractions that you can cause with it. I think that's the most important as we get a look and a zoom in. Thank you, observers, as we see the tower still stands, Rebel.
A sliver of health, probably into the double digits. Is honestly, I think it might have been to the benefit of Zeus if that went down, because no one was there to absorb the gold, so it would have just been global gold, which is like, what, 50 apiece to 100 apiece is nothing crazy. That's going to break the game completely open. But nonetheless, the tower stands. They're going to keep Alarm down there. It could just be a flood. In fact, actually, there's 3-4 members heading down to the bottom side to look for what will be the dragon in about 45 seconds. And Alarm is under a dying tower. So this ultimate, you have to just run away right now or you have to burn it.
All right, he's going to do both as he does get Lilting Lullaby at the last second. Flashes away from Rose Thorn. The Watch Out Eat comes out. Decent amount of damage. But Alarm survives, and the Rift Herald was spawned mid lane by Zeus, so they get the distraction. 3 members committed by GGA, and they do lose that tower in mid lane.
That they do, which, like, in a vacuum, I suppose the tower is far more valuable, especially with the extra playing. And now, yeah, like you said, the collapse, it doesn't look like the fight's going to start off anytime soon. Alorum could TP back into this one, but with no ultimate and no flash, it's really tough. And that's why I think this bottom lane play was actually better for GGA. Pulling the flash and the ultimate off Malphite before a team fight to happen around the Infernal Drake is actually super valuable. It pretty much just locks them this dragon for absolutely free. And there's not really much for Zeus to do because they can't get that perfect wombo combo like we were talking about. Yeah, it will be just that dragon secured here by GGA, although RBM on the backside of the pit is not going to go to contest it, and that will be the second dragon secured. Oh, I love that. Rahid's on top of it. He knows when he needs to use it. Just needs to get the damage and the timing down a little bit. Yeah, popping it. The angle you shoot it at is also very difficult. And good on Chime to make sure you know where he's at so that you can actually cover that position. So nice job from both of them right there. The attempted steal with the rocket and the block of the rocket from the 2 bot laners here on opposite sides with Zeus and GGA as a second dragon goes over and is going to come into the pockets of GGA, of course, as they're continuing to wait for this composition to scale. We haven't seen the perfect 5-on-5 from Zeus. They haven't been able to set it up yet as GGA has been able to kind of run them around the map. And something else I want to point out, we talked a lot about, you know, the early proactivity of RBM, trying to get the essence stacks, trying to get something going. He spent a lot of time trying to find those things, right? And that's something you got to be really careful at when you're dealing with a Lilia, especially Rose Thorn's Lilia, is the pace of the jungle clearing, the pace of the jungle camps that you can take as this Lilia gets so quick. So those times that you're buying, that you're trying to get some essence, you're trying to set up one of those ganks in the bot side, top side, mid, it lends to Rose Thorn getting further ahead than he already has. Now, I will say, so far RBM has done a very strange job by RTM, because every time there's going to be interaction between multiple members, actually, okay, I thought a little bit more was going to come from that, but it's not going to be the case. So every time, they actually are going for it. Rose Thorn on the other side of the wall. Nobody's going to be able to really follow up on it, unfortunately. You're playing with my emotions here, Rose Thorn. You can't pop the ultimate like that. You can't do that thing. I was expecting a fight to come through. RBM has not been able to find pretty much any fight, I think, in their favor. Every time they've tried to force interaction in terms of a multi-person fight where you can really start to stack a lot of the orbs and a lot of the essence for the transformation, they've just denied it on the side of GGA and instead played on a different side of the map. So I have to commend GGA knowing the fact that RBM is looking for some of these fights, but at 20 minutes, there's still no transformation for the game. And also the other thing is, like, they are grouping up. They're staying the turtle stance. They've got everybody staying together. There's no catch-outs available. As Alorum, talking about catch-outs, ooh, nice use of the Unstoppable Force over that second wall there to get away, save his life,
going to take out that War 4 backing, but that does mean that Tally gets the pressure on the bot side. Still about 40 CS in the lead as well over Alorum.
We're still waiting to try to combine for the team fights. This team from Zeus, their lanes aren't phenomenal. Their kind of skirmishing power is more contingent on being able to link people together. And outside of that, it's really difficult to try to find anything. So far, it's been Zeus kind of run ragged within these laning phases, except for Darkwings, who had that early kind of engagement. And everyone else has gotten bullied to some extent. Brismal's up about 20 CS. You got a 40 CS lead for Tally in the top side of the map. It's, like I said, Zeus's main thing that they want to do is fight as often as possible. So they want to try to generate these 5-on-5s. They simply have not been able to do so.
Oh, flash out from Rosethorn. Gets the flash from Darkwings, trying to preemptively get that shockwave down. But the watch out Eve's going to do a lot of damage, and he's going to pick up the kill. Chime is the one that gets it. So that's 3 kills for the Rel on GGA.
Really, really great flash right there from Rosethorn, where the ultimate it comes out from the side of Darkwings, attempting to get the shockwave onto him, pull him away. The flash over top of that not only closes the distance and avoids the shockwave, but also puts Darkwings in a tough situation where if you flash towards your tower, you've wasted it, and you're not really that much further away from Rosethorn. But if you don't waste it, then there's absolutely no chance you die. So Darkwings, I think maybe a little bit of panic right there, does throw the flash. RBM not even going to get an orb because the W missed.
Oh, that feels so bad. That's the craziest thing, though, is like, this is the biggest worry I have anytime I see a Kayn. Kayn is so reliant on getting fights early, getting that essence going, and if you don't, you're losing half that champion almost.
Yeah, half the champion, it might be even an understatement, because there's just so much loaded into having Blue Kayn, especially into a comp like this where they're looking to aggress. I will say again, there will come a time and a place where it feels like GGA is almost going to have to team fight, or there will be one that's forcible from the side of Zeus if they're able to continue on this path, because it seems like Malphite's going to be fine. Eventually we'll be able to stabilize up against the likes of the Gnar. The Orianna being powerful means the Victor's never going to have just pure wave clear advantage, and Jinx exists as a champion with rapid fire cannon, with rockets to be able to clear waves from a very far distance. So if Zeus can even steal one more dragon here, I think that's going to be enough to where all of a sudden GGA is going to have to look for their perfect fight, and they do not want a 5-on-5. So GGA, it's not that there's a timer on them, it's more so that they have to keep track of everything that Zeus is doing and find their moments to strike in between these points where you can start to move together as Zeus. That's probably what you're looking for.
And we do have a dragon spawning about 20 seconds. It'll be the second Infernal Dragon. This could be sole point for GGA, right? And like, not necessarily you need to force this and try to fight, because you're still waiting for RBM to try and get that essence going. But, you're setting yourself up to where you're giving a lot of control over the map to GGA. They say, no, we're just going to start the Baron here. Why not?
They do. And it could be a really nice steal away. It's a lot of damage, a lot of DPS to come out. I don't know that they've sniffed it out.
I don't know how,
but they're just checking really quick. Yeah, it's just intuition. They are going to be able to see it for half of a second. They have it pretty low right now. This could be the force, though, that they're looking for on the side of Zeus. Rhino's low, but they could look for 5-on-5.
Rhino's very low. The sleep onto Alorum. He's not part of the fight, and there's the combo, but it's on GGA's side. As they wipe 4 off the map, they get Baron, a double kill for Yunbi, and GGA have shown up into this match, taking it to Zeus Gaming.
I am so upset that these fights continue.
Oh,
to go
no.
Orm's going to get brought down. The ultimate.
The burn.
He's going to die anyway. It's not going to matter. Rosethorn has been an absolute stud in this game, man. These sleeps are completely throwing this game into disarray. RBM has not been able to get any footing whatsoever after that bottom lane fight. The transformation hasn't come anywhere near. And that sleep right there protected them against Alorum combining with Darkwings. Like this 5-on-5 where you're combining Malphite Orianna is all you want. This was effectively blind. They had no idea where they were. Shime ends up finding this one, getting a really good engage. But watch, again, Alorum bottom side of the fight. The sleep's going to come through really late. Right there, there's no counterplay. You can't do anything.
As soon as they engage.
Yeah, it's immediate. It was phenomenal. That's GGA with the best decisiveness I think I've ever seen. That's timing. That's so difficult to put off. What a play by this team.
And I hate to add insult to injury, but RBM had the smite in the pit, just not able to get it off, not able to pull that back for his squad. And unfortunately for them, that means that almost everything goes the way of GGA. Still not transformed is RBM. Still not finding those wombo combos is Zeus Gaming. And they got to find a way back into this game, or it's going to be a quick 1-0 up for GGA.
even with a perfect 5-on-5 fight setup where they're able to get the perfect combination, I still don't know that that's enough right this second, only because the damage really isn't there for Jinx to continue the fight afterwards. So if you don't kill off Prismal and probably Yunbi as well, there's just very little chance that anything's going to come about from that. They're looking for a pick on a Yunbi. Yeah,
get some essence here. The Umbral Trespass is available, going to be popped onto Yunbi. Shutdown goes over to Lorem. They're getting hit by the Chaos Storm here, though. There's the Lilting Lullaby as well, but there's nobody else here to follow it up from Rose Thorn. A little bit aggressive chime on the backside there. They do find a killing spree onto Darkwings, getting caught in transition, and that's never what you want to see for Zeus Gaming, as GGA take the onus, take the fight, and are going to push down this second-tier tower on the bot side.
That they will. Weren't able to use Lorem's ultimate. Darkwings wasn't able to get into that fight with his either. It looks like transformation could come through from RBM. There is Blue Cane finally going to come out after all of this time.
Oh, it's so pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty pretty. The skin is quite nice. You have to appreciate that. It took a while to get here, but maybe it'll be worth it in the end. As you see that
26 minutes in. That is a long time to say the least. But he has found Tally. Tally immediately flashes and not taking too much damage, actually. Can trade back, and now the TP's coming in for Yunbi. Zeus have to run for the hills here because they got to be real careful. Doesn't matter. RBM is down. Yunbi gets the kill, and they are taking it to Zeus Gaming right now in this first one. Inhib Tower in the mid falls, Inhib Tower in the top falls, and everything is coming crashing down around Zeus Gaming. They do get the kill back as Darkwings is able to shut down Rose Thorn, but they lose a ton of their base, including 2 inhibs. Here's the TP, though. Alorem, Captain, my Captain. Do they find Prismal? The Feather Call comes out, though, buys some time, buys his life, and he gets out.
Not gonna have to worry about it. It's a 10,000 gold lead now for the side of Golden Guardians. The second that RBM gets that transformation, he runs out to try to get a pick onto Tally, but just gets responded to. And now top inhibitor and mid inhibitor are both brought down for the side of Zeus Gaming, as they have struggled to put together the 5-on-5. They've struggled to get the Kane into the game, and now 27 minutes in, finally everything might be able to start coming together, but have Golden Guardians actually just overextended the lead to the point where it just doesn't matter if you got the perfect 5-on-5, because you're just going to get run through. Prismal's exceptionally strong. Yunbi's pretty strong.
They
Tally's really strong on the sideline.
Here.
You see this. Yeah, look at this. W comes out. He tries to find the Q. He gets a little bit of damage, but the TP, you know immediately that this is going to be an execution on an RBM who just had way too much confidence.
And you know, spaceships hurt when they're hurtling at you. And I think RBM knows that now. As Tally just surviving for so long up there on this Gnar, being such a great pick for GGA and for Tally in general. But like being able to see what they got off the back of it, like, yes, Rose Thorn dies here, right? You get 2 in him. That's 2 lanes of super minions going down. That is all the pressure you'd want around the map. Free to your advantage. And off the back of this, like, Prismal is just so clean, knowing what's going to happen immediately. Perfect timing on that Feather Call.
Absolutely. Gets out of that situation. Could have been really rough. Now Chime is behind this team. He's looking for something.
But it doesn't matter because Rose Thorn comes in with the flash, gets the triple sleep as he goes golden into the Umbral Trespass. No damage done by RBM, but here comes the Captain. Here comes Alorem. They get Raheen a kill off the back of it, and they're looking for the Wombo combo. Shockwave misses, and that's going to be a huge detriment to how Zeus Gaming want to take this fight.
Painful. They find Rose Thorn again, but it's not going to slow down the intent on bottom lane inhibitor to bring that one down as well. It's really tough right now for Zeus to find a perfect fight, as if you have even gold, maybe you can take trades like that and use these tools aggressively, but you need to find 3-4 members with Malphite ultimate and Orianna ultimate, and between those two in that last fight, you hit exactly one person.
God. RBM's just dead. That's just got to be it. That's a double kill for Prismal. The man we put all the focus on is coming in clutch in the late game fights. He's found the advantage. He's found 2 of the carries down for Zeus Gaming. And this could just be game number 1, Rebel. This could be just GGA coming out swinging and taking the series to the brink as they find a couple more installs. They come a couple more stalls, at least, from Zeus Gaming. But they've got a huge minion wave. They've got the damage, the gold, the kills to back it up as they're flashing forward to make sure they make a stamp on this game. 1-0 GGA.
incredible stuff from GGA, where they came out as the team that probably should have been coming out a little bit slower. We expected them to go into the 25, 30, 40 minute mark before they really started to do stuff. And what would you know? They broke this map into pieces with this Lilia pick to begin with. Zeus had no footing at all to begin the game, and all of a sudden now this team fight, this late game team, they got all the time in the world to begin scaling. They denied all the orbs coming out from Kayn. They never gave the clustered fighting for the Malphite and the Orianna to succeed. Nothing that Zeus wanted in that game was given to them in the slightest. And because of that, that's just an easy walk away for a win from the side of GGA.
I'm just going to say right now, I don't know his thoughts. I don't know his feelings. RBM wants that one back. There is no way you come away from that game feeling good after that Kayn performance. So I want to see what he can punch back with in game number 2. We've known this guy to be huge carry potential on the side of Zeus Gaming. He's had so many good performances, and want to see that come out here in this series. We got to take a little step away. We got to take a little break, Rebel, but we'll be right back with game number 2 between Golden Guardians Academy and Zeus Gaming. Welcome back, everyone, to the Proving Grounds powered by Verizon. Again, I am Mazel, and I'm joined by Rebel Fox, and we are casting some games of League of Legends today, and it started off in this second series with a banger for the GGA side of things as Zeus Gaming get trounced in that game number 1.
They exceeded my expectations on the side of GJ. I thought they were going to go, all right, we're going to pick Ezreal. We're going to take this to like 35 minutes. We're going to go to like full dragons. We're going to have like Elder. That's going to be the game plan. And Zeus is going to try to fight against that. But instead, the early game was really surprisingly adequate.
Yeah.
They had a number of different plays that they could make across the map. They were able to shut out all the tools of Zeus. It's like they knew what the composition was of Zeus better than Zeus knew their own composition. So really, really great stuff from GGA to start things off.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one thing, right? It was the map movements. It was the total pressure. It was moving around those objectives, calling up, being able to get Chime, Prismal into these fights, into these moments, into these engagements. And it all started off with, like, around that first objective, RBM and company were trying to make a play for that first dragon. They get caught out by the bot side of GGA, and they lose those couple kills early on. And that just set the pace for what we saw from GGA for the rest of that game.
Set the tone for the entire series, to be quite honest, just because there was nothing, or the entire game. My apologies that it come out. We didn't see anything else.
It might be the series. You never know.
It might be. Yeah, it just might be. As I'm excited to get into some of this. As these plays that came out were immaculate. Again, when you see like Chime's engages were great, but the circumstances surrounding this whole fight were so good when it came down to like Rose Thorn being able to find the right sleep in a Malphite. They shut out Malphite in the side lane, took 26 minutes for the transformation. Like I said, I feel like this is one of those games where it's like if it's a scrim between Zeus and GGA, 15 minutes in, Zeus is just like throwing in the red, they're throwing in the white flags up. They're just like, all right, we're done. Like we're FFing this and we're not playing this anymore. As this was a really tough one to try to come back from. It really
look at that catch up, the damage, my goodness, and the follow-up. And I love it because it came out, this particular one came out the back of like them finally saying, we got the transformation, we're finally here, we can fight. And then no, it was just GGA saying no way, Jose. And that Gale Force at the end there for Prismal just to call to guard the rest of GGA and kind of slam home this first game. It was just great performances across the board. You look at those those KDAs for GGA, everybody had a say in this one.
Can you recall also the fact that like this is a 9th place academy team? They didn't have the greatest academy split, and it started from minute 1 when they left academy because they went into Giant Slayer, the second tier 2 or tier 1 qualification. My apologies. They won that over top of EGA, another one of those teams that ended up getting a little bit lower inside of that tournament. And then you continue that train of thought, and it's like, okay, they come into Northern Arena and they had a fantastic performance at Northern Arena. Now all of a sudden, this team's looking completely revitalized. This team looks like a brand new team. They beat TLA last week, our like one of our top 2 or 3 teams coming into the tournament, and they beat them to come in at 2-0. This team is looking completely revitalized from what we thought they were going to come in looking like. So I can't give anything but props to GGA and the development they've had for a lot of these young players.
It's that late Proving Grounds buff coming in clutch, the scaling factor for GGA, especially in this one. But that's I think what makes me so disheartened by this first loss by Zeus. I think that Zeus are a great team in all. They have some great pieces. They have great showings, at least across those pieces. And to see them kind of come out in this one game and kind of sputter a little bit in the way that they wanted to play, like I need to see that full-fledged transformation, as you're kind of saying, but for the side of Zeus game.
Agreed. Like I said, I think that was not indicative of what we've seen from Zeus in the past.
Not at all.
And I think going to more standard, going to more, like I said, Hecarim, Udyr, really good for RBM, better lanes. I liked the Orianna. I thought Dark Wings was perfectly fine on that. And then going into other things, I was fine with the Jinx. It was okay. They just have to have an attack plan. They were never able to combine their pieces together. Again, when the game plan is around Alarm and Alarm's helping out a lot of these younger players, getting him into fights as often as possible is really good because he knows how to team fight. He knows how to call fights really well when he's inside of them, and especially when he's playing these engage type champions, when he's playing things like Malphite, like Sion, he's going to be the primary initiator. You got to have this team put together in order to actually make that happen. So you could draft a little bit more kind of individual style play coming out from the side of Zeus, or you could double down into this team fight and just look to take it to the side of Golden Guardians again and just hope that you can make sure to get all your pieces together in time.
That's what I was gonna say, right? It's like again, just like the same thing we said in Series 1 with 100 Thieves Academy. Like the ideas are there, the execution not so much, but you still saw in the midst of that game, in the midst of them getting kind of lost in the game 1 of the series, at least, like they still had the calls. You still had Alorm making the TP calls, trying to find the flanks, trying to find the engages. And yes, it didn't matter so much in that, but if you keep that and you find a second game where you're a little bit higher up, you're not getting put down so far behind early, like those calls still matter so much. And those wombo combos that you're drafting for yourself, those kinds of stylistic compositions are going to be huge for Zeus Game.
It would be nice to come into this game without necessarily the wombo combo, but instead more so something along the lines of something that helps for RBM to make impact across the thing. Because Kayn, you want to fight a bunch, but there's nothing that forces interaction with the like of Kayn, right? There's nothing that actually lets that come through unless you have a team fight or something like that, and that was what GGA was able to deny. So when the Kayn pick is off the table and they go to something else, this probably looks a lot better for themselves. Is that something? I like the fact that they were testing for it, whether or not it could work, especially into the Lilia, where we know it's been able to work in the past, but not going to actually work out for them. Go back to something that you're really, really comfortable with, and I'm sure Zeus will be able to at least compete for this game number 3.
I think that's the most important part, is finding something for RBM to ping pong between those lanes, to try to find something for RBM to feel comfortable. And yes, you could say the Kayn is some comfort. You got some strength in that pick, but I want to see something that really gets the gears turning for RBM, because I think he's been such a strong performer in getting Zeus Gaming to where they want to be on the map, and especially those early game advantages we've kind of talked about. I still think that the objective control is going to be huge in this one as well, and going into the second game. But this is, again, reiterating on it, because this is all we got today, is elimination matches. Like, if Zeus Gaming do not perform here, their Proving Ground stint is done. And that would be such a sad moment here with a team that has grinded, has fought, has slogged through what is the Proving Grounds, the Proving Grounds circuit, everything to get to this point. They've got to show a better showing than that.
Agreed. I think it would be disappointing for either team to drop out right here, just because of the expectations that they've got. Although, to be quite honest, again, when you think about the seeding, these are two teams that probably should drop out about this time. So, like, to think that one of them, like, it would be disappointing, it will be, because we've seen them play. And, like, Zeus being able to take off, TSM Academy and having a competition up against C9, that's a really important set of games for an amateur team. And then GGA, like, their development over the course of the past few months has been enormous. And you've seen that start to culminate right here in this series. You've seen it begin to culminate. So, like, it's disappointing because these two teams' growth have gotten them into a position where I feel like they deserve to do better than what they are right now. But one of them has to go home, and Zeus has got to turn it around. Almost beating C9 means nothing if you get put out in this round and end up being between the 12th and the 9th place team.
Kind of wishing there was a lower bracket at this point to see these teams keep
triple
going.
Elimination.
But in all actuality, like, it is a lot of pressure to be put on Zeus right now. One down in the series in a best of 3 that you usually feel like these moments are fit for a best of 5. You're going the distance. You've got some games to give. You've got some drafts to give. When you come out with a draft like that, you're trying to get something started for yourself. You're trying to get some of those juicy draft bucks early on, and it doesn't work out. You've got to completely change that game plan going into the second draft. And going into that one here in just a little bit, we do have, I want to note that Zeus is going to be staying on that blue side. So now, Rebel, that means that we have some interesting things that can kind of come down, especially in the fact that GGA are still going to be sticking with a counter pick as well.
That they will. I feel like maybe the counter pick isn't as punishing from the side of GGA. Like, if Zeus is on blue side, or on red side, my apologies, you can think about like Wukong comes in for Alorm. A lot of people know him as a Wukong player.
True.
You talk about like Kha'Zix, which we saw earlier in the tournament for the likes of Zeus's jungler and RBM. Champions like that, you don't get to take on blue side as easily. You have to manufacture that kind of pick.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to be so, like, honestly, I like the Orianna, the Malphite for Zeus. Like, I feel like those are the two strongest pieces, and we talked a lot about these two players individually. I think the only thing that really stood out to me is, like, getting lost in that early game for Zeus and going down really, I feel like, was troubling for Darkwings, right? A lot of those transitions, he was getting caught by the side of Chime and Prismal, and not being able to have those smooth transitions to get to the fights, to get to the team fights, is the biggest thing for me. And, like, yes, I think the picks are still strong. You just got to make sure that early game pans out for you a little bit better, and you're keeping your head on a swivel at least, and making sure those transitions can work out to get to those fights, to get everybody there. And as we're going to be getting into this game 2 draft, Rebel, it's going to be interesting. We'll see what the counter picks come out from GGA, if there are any. But first and foremost, what Zeus Gaming are looking to accomplish.
Yeah, I do like that they're doing their homework and making sure that Yunbi, who is a transcendent Twisted Fate player back in the scatting ground stint, is not getting that one. Only because, like, if you allow him to have that champion, then all of a sudden your side lanes get attacked. And, like, that's something that it's tough to deal with for a composition, especially into a team like GGA who scales so well. If Twisted Fate accelerates that scaling, it's tough. So they're not going to let that come through, as well as the double ADC ban to bottom lane. Rel is available. Thresh is available as well, as both Udyr and Hecarim are taken off the board. You have to think they're going to go elsewhere with this first pick other than jungle.
Yeah, I would expect the Thresh ban here by GGA. You never know, though. It could just let it sleep through. It is going to be banned. So Shadow Isle composition done, down and dusted at least. GGA do not want to deal with that one. I do find the Jinx ban interesting for Zeus. They do first pick the Lilia this time for RBM, another champion that RBM has had some success on in the past.
Yeah, willing to take that one away from Rosethorn. This is one of Rosethorn's more like kind of popular champions that he's played majority of the split, and now it's going to be up to him to choose what he wants to play. Is it the Kayn? Is it the Nidalee? Both of which are options
Does
that
he
go
pick
to
the
again
Kayn?
and again.
Just the ultimate smackdown here. That would be so BM. But it is the Rel and the Orianna combo that come through for GGA. They're getting themselves some wombo.
Yeah, and after Chime's performance in that last game, and especially after Darkwing's performance early on, I'm not shocked to see that one come through. It's a good ball delivery system. You have to set up a little bit more unless you have another ball delivery. I prefer to see these two combine with a third member of this combination as a wombo rather than just the two. It can work as just the two, as it's a little bit fickle. Typically, it's when you have advantage in fights, as on the other side, the Gragas is locked in. This is something that Rhino has played. It's a good response to what Rel can do, and it's also a really good response to a team fight that ends up getting split. If you have engage and then backline, and you throw a barrel in between, all of a sudden, you no longer have backline, you just have frontline.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of flexibility in that aspect of it as well. I mean, you do have some potentials for that, but I would really like to see Rhino pick that one up, be able to pilot that one in the second game when it matters most for Zeus Gaming. They also lock in the Kaisa for Rahin. Has been a huge pick in the past as well, in just the general meta at least, but something new at least for Rahin coming in the Proving Grounds, at least in this stint.
Yeah, able to snag this one away. It's one of his better champions. I think it is also comfort. It's over the course of Proving Grounds, played it a ton of times, as it looks like they finally come to the conclusion that they're going to draft for their jungle, and Yunbi, or my apologies, Rosethorn is going to go for the Olaf. It's of the champions that like exist as melee champions who just want to run at you, I feel like Olaf's the best into the likes of Lilia. It hasn't gotten picked pretty much at all here at Proving Grounds. It's fallen a little bit out of favor here on 11-6 for all these academy and amateur teams, but here we are where Rosethorn is one of the first that's taking it.
Yeah, I like the Olaf coming through. I think it just provides that much more pressure in the early game. You can just hard farm. You can get some skirmish. You can get that early objective control that we all know and love. The second phase of bans is turning out a little bit different, though, Rebel, as we have the Nocturne banned away by GGA. The Xayah from last game for Prismal, not going to be there this time around.
Not at all. Do you notice, I think they go to a second ADC ban. I'm curious, they can let Ezreal through, let Prismal take that, because Ezreal is good for Prismal, but it does slow down their game plan. Or they ban Ezreal knowing that he's comfortable on it and try to force them onto something new in terms of the ADC role, whether it be like Sivir or Varus, and right there's the Sivir that's getting taken away. So now you come back, there's a couple of solo lane bans, or at least flex picks that are going to be taken off the side of Zeus Gaming, but I think really pinching the pool of Prismal is going to be harmful for the side of GGA Academy.
I think so too, and I think having that strong performance on Xayah in the first game can lead that a little bit less more into like a really telling situation, but the Varus comes through. We got to see it already once today. Pretty shining performance in that aspect in most cases, but here Prismal picking it up.
Okay, this would be crazy. Okay, so first off, there's no protection for Varus within this composition.
No, not at all.
And so that's really tough if you're able to get some sort of wombo combo, especially with like Gragas and Lilia to actually come out. Okay, I'm just going to say something to you right now, Mr. Mazel. First off,
what is it?
Big Kiana fan. I told you something before our broadcast started, that they said they had something crazy. I wrote down on a piece of paper what champion I thought they were going to play. I think it's backwards.
No, it's good.
Before
You've
the
got
cast
it, man.
started, I had it written down, guessing what champion it was going to be. Darkwings gets his priority mid lane. They pair it with Gragas. It is an excellent team fighter. This is the flawless pick that's going to come through from the side of Zeus Gaming.
I love it. Got to come out swinging in game number 2 after going down in that first game. They get themselves that combo. They get themselves some wombo as well. And the response, the final tick is going to be that Gnar for GGA.
They are able to get Tally back onto his Gnar right here, as there's some flexibility that came through. Sion gets blinded by the side of Aloran, but now all of a sudden, as I have pointed out, Darkwing's getting broken out of mid lane was huge when they had it on Orianna. If you think it was good on Orianna, it is infinitely better on this champion right here, who I still consider overloaded. And there is not a lot in the way of peel from Golden Guardians Academy. Their team is pretty much entirely teamfight based, and they're going to be working as a little bit more of a death ball. So this ultimate, this massive display of skill that's going to come through from the likes of the Kiana could be huge for aggressing against this team.
Yeah, I think that the fight, at least if Darkwings can get ahead, like those getting caught out in transitions is not going to matter. Right? You're Kiana. You want to catch people in those transitions. You want to fight those fights in the jungle, and especially setting yourself up around those big moments. And the Kiana does so exceptionally well. Darkwing's getting to pilot this one. That's where the spotlight is, right? We talked a little bit about RBM's performance in the first game. Needed to see a step up from that situation. But if you pick this Kiana, like that is where the spotlight is. You've got Rahid on the Kai'Sa that can follow up the performance, the shining spotlight, if you will. But it is going to be up to Darkwings to really pull out everything that he can in this one to make sure that Zeus Gaming do not get knocked out. Because on the other side, we talked a little bit about it when we were seeing some of these picks go through, but they have a very standardized composition. Yes, Varus is a little bit lower mobility, at least can't really have that peel back for it. But as a whole, when you get into those teamfight compositions, there's a lot to deal with going against GGA. So as we are going to get into this game number 2, Zeus Gaming backs up against the wall. They pull out the Darkwings Kiana. This is the moment to shine going up against GGA.
This is what I've been waiting for right here. I love this kind of innovation that's going to be coming out from the side of Zeus Gaming, where they're able to pull something in their back pocket, especially for a player as talented as Darkwings. We'd made mention he was that 1v1 winner, and I feel like he's been waiting in a hyperbolic time chamber on like Orianna and Syndra and Azir for months, only to pull out this assassin to be able to work things with. And like we said, no peel for Prismal. It's a lot more of a kind of a together composition, more standard teamfight style. Could be really good. More importantly, though, you have CC in every single lane to set up both Kiana roams, but also Lilia for RBM, which is humongous for trying to get ganks off, especially into some of these lanes. It's another game where like Olaf gets a bit tankier, but it's still relatively squishy because there's no one to sit there and just soak damage for the side of GGA. And I can tell you right now, there's damage in spades for the side of Zeus Gaming.
They definitely do have that going for them. Again, I do still think that like we can set up these compositions all you want. We can talk about the power potentials for either one of them. It's all about that early pathing. It's all about that early skirmishing. Who is going to get the first couple bloods? Who is going to get that gold dumped in their pockets early? And how do they use that in the fights? As we already see the 1v1 on the bot side, Chime taken very, very low, but so is Rhino. Get a couple trades of summoner spells from the supports, but nothing else going to be burned.
Huge advantage, though, to the side of Rhino, because Gragas has sustained, and you don't really have a ton of that outside of the Q that comes through from Chime. Also burns the summoner spells on both sides, where Ignites are now down, which is, I think, favorable more so for the aggressive or for the defensive lane, because, like, ideally, Gragas and the Kai'Sa probably aren't going to be looking for a ton of kill potential unless you find a great ultimate onto Prismal, and you don't necessarily need Ignite. If you hit him with an ultimate that's good enough to set up the remainder of the play, you're probably going to kill him anyway. So in that chance, if Chime wants to get aggressive and you want to drop Ignite into a play that Rosethorn joins, now that option is no longer available.
I think that's something we'll have to kind of keep our eyes out on, especially. But I do really like so far, you know, we've hyped up Darkwings' Kiana, but you even had it written on a piece of paper there, Rebel. Yep. But I love that Yunbi is taking aggression in the lane, trying to keep that priority there for himself, try to keep that wave crashing onto Darkwings.
That's the case. Making sure that you can't move that quickly. This is perhaps the one weak point of the champion, is this early laning phase. In order for Kiana before Tiamat to be able to get out of lane, which isn't even necessarily part of the build path anymore, you have to fight, basically, which is very volatile, especially into a ranged laning matchup. And so Darkwings has to be pretty careful. Without RBM to help, you have to at least look for some trading value into Yunbi, or you have to play off of Yunbi, playing a little bit more passively to get priority over top of these waves in that regard.
And it's been a huge theme today of junglers starting on the same sides, getting that tussling going. This, I feel like, is one of the times we won't see that. Is RBM going to be starting on the opposite side from Rosethorn? They're just going to get the respective scuttle crabs to each other and then look to get active on the map.
That we will. Full clears from both sides. I want to see who ends up backing first. It is going to be the back. Okay, it's slightly faster, but it's not going to be anything meaningful as both these junglers are going to end up. Olaf also stalled his for 1 additional auto attack or something like that. So these two not going to fall anytime soon. Also going to clear. Okay, Olaf has now stopped the back like 3 times. I think he's
I was going to say.
Yeah, they're waiting for the dive. Is what's
got
going to happen right here.
Good look for it onto Olorum. Trying to get the captain down here, but can Olorum outplay it? Has not been touched just yet.
Nope.
Not going to be taking any damage, and it actually looks like GGA are going to get out of there after all is said and done.
Health was a bit too low, and I think they saw that. The attack speed is necessary for Rosethorn, but Tally having, not really the health bar, especially on Meganar, let alone Mininar, to tank to start with, more than maybe 2 shots at absolute best, means if any CC on a non-Ragnarok Olaf hits, then you are completely stalled out underneath of that tower with nothing to do. So all that this did was let RBM get deployed onto the map much faster, start clearing these camps, and gives him the tempo advantage to start moving towards this bottom lane, where maybe the plays can start to come out.
Yeah, seeing still a lot of aggression down on the bot side. They're trying to find Prismal. There's a lot of damage onto Rhino, too. The heal does come out from Raheen, as now they're caught. Raheen goes for the kill, doesn't have the damage, and now Raheen is caught here as the TP is coming down from Yunbi, but it's not going to matter. First blood to Rosethorn.
Yeah, the attempted play right there, a little over-aggression from the bottom lane here from Zeus is going to end up being that case. Rosethorn gets down here after the back of the attempted play. They thought that they had another second, or that the pathing was maybe just not there, or had walked into the jungle for some more, but instead Rosethorn walks immediately to this lane, is able to find that kill, and now, it's a kill for your Olaf. There is a bit of response. RBM came down here to try to catch Prismal, or at least deny the back. As you see right here, yeah, look, Olaf is just going right through the laning, not even coming out of the jungle, so these two look for a bit of pressure. The Q is enough of a slow, and the passive stacks the exhaust. One
so
auto
close.
of exhaust might have been enough right there too. Yeah, look at that low health. That exhaust auto might have been enough denied damage to actually save Prismal's life. So clutch right there, coming out to make sure that that's not going to be the case. Is GGA's bot lane not going to trade the 1-for-1, instead just going to trade that kill over as Rosethorn picks that one up.
And you gotta feel for Raheen. That was first blood. That was the attempt that they wanted. He was putting his body on the line for it and doesn't get it. And the mechanical prowess of GGA is coming out full force.
That is making sure not to give too much up here in this early game, and not giving a kill over to Raheen, who's a very good player. If you trade 1-for-1 there, I think Raheen's able to take quite a bit off the map, as there was a wave there also that was able to be picked up by Prismal, and so it would have been in a really bad position, since this is also going to be the lethality variant of the Varus to put pressure onto. But doesn't matter all too heavily quite yet. It's just the 1 kill going over to Olaf, who Rosethorn could try to use this to advance the remainder of the map, but got to find the right target for it. Level 6 now. You know what that means, Mr. Mizzou. You know what that means to the Kiana. The ultimate that's way too long for you to shout out in team fights.
Hey, I'm going to find a way. The supreme display of talent is going to be a great thing for GGA, as Lauren's going to be in some trouble here. Might have to re-engage from RBM, though. Lilting Lullaby comes in, gets one of the sleeps, but the Unstoppable is going to get Alorum. They do get the trade back. Rosethorn falls. RBM wants Tally here. Tally flashes, as that's just going to be a trade back. At least Zeus are able to get a kill.
I was hoping there'd be a little bit more just like pull or like a trigger pulled right there in aggression from Darkwings, as it felt like the flash had been burnt by Tally. And if you flash and you E and you're able to get in range, that supreme display of talent 100% kills the Gnar right there, confirms another kill for your team. Instead, just content with the one-on-one, so not going to be anything. This is just an ult into the wall. Alorm is just trying to soak the damage. Nice flash on the first Q means that Rosethorn can't get that initial slow, but afterwards it's just too much CC. And right here, like, you can't use the ultimate on to anyone good. I know he was probably considering right there using it. They thought they needed him for the remainder of the Gnar's health, or apologies, the Olaf's health bar. And right there, maybe an angle to try to throw that ultimate, but just out of range potentially, as Darkwings doesn't want to commit that one quite yet.
Yeah, it was so close to getting another kill onto Tally up there for Zeus. They wanted to try and get something else going for themselves early on, but unable to find it. Just get that one kill, but can set themselves up with a Rift Herald here, as RBM has already started it. Could mean that first Dragon is going to go to GGA, though.
That it might, which is crazy to think 8 minutes and 20 seconds into the game. We
right?
the first dragon off
No,
the board.
he's not even going for it. Doesn't even care.
Yeah. Nope, does not. As Rift Herald's getting taken by RBM, a little low on this one, so Vika's found out could be in some trouble, but Dark Wings does have the push right here to be able to avoid.
Rosethorn knows it.
Rosethorn.
Like
okay, they see the hatchet, though. It looks like they're playing
oh, the
more for
shockwave on
Wings.
Dark Wings. Shut down the man. He can't become a legend. Rosethorn gets the kill onto Dark Wings. They're going to follow this up. RBM at least is able to get that Rift Herald. Alorm might get caught here, though. They have a ton of follow-up. They have a ton of slows, and Alorm uses the blast cone over the wall. As are they just going to go for the dive here? They have a ton of damage to follow it up, and Tally's getting close to Mega. Looks like they will temper that aggression, though. They will back off, and Golden Guardians Academy come away with another kill. Do lose that Rift Herald.
I think it was the health bar, really, of the side of RBM that made this really big struggle. Because if Rosethorn walks into top river and finds RBM that low, either RBM has to just immediately burn flash, get over the wall, and hope that Rosethorn can't follow at all.
Oh, no.
No.
The catch out, Raheen. He's going to get taken down. No, he's not. He survives. Oh, but there's the flash. No. Prismal with the piercing arrow pierces Raheen's heart.
Oh my goodness, that was a sniper move right there from the side of Prismal to be able to find that arrow even after the flash. You don't flash in a straight line, but it looked like Raheen even flashed a little bit down, and still the arrow was able to tag right there. What an impressive display, as it was Rhino stepping away for half a second. That ultimate is going to be there, and then you see this. I thought was huge from Rhino. I thought it was going to end up being a trade of kill. Watch this Q. Exhaust slows him down. Flash. Into Fog of War in a straight line.
Rip.
Oh, Raheen.
Oh, Raheen wants that one back, man. I feel like
100%.
the story of the day here for Zeus Gaming. They just want it all back. Different decisions, different points in the moments that mean so much. And with Prismo gaining that kill, helping his team get ahead down towards the bot side, it's spelling a little bit of trouble for Zeus Gaming.
It is. It is Lethality-verse alongside Orianna, so the scaling I don't think is as humongous, especially into tankier
members. Oh my god, they just want to do it.
Massive sleep!
Darkwing's flashes for the supreme display of talent is gonna die here, as Yunbi is gonna trade back, but he still gets the kill, and Darkwing's overcommits.
And he does trade 1-for-1, which I think it's not perfect, but at least is something. I was really worried you weren't even going to be able to trade 1-for-1 right there. Possibly could have walked out from tower instead of staying there looking for an additional Q or an auto attack here or there. I wasn't sure if he was confused about the damage output. Now Tally, no flash, is in a very tough position. No Meganar coming anytime soon either.
Yeah, there's nothing to save Tally, as Alorm is going to be able to get that kill on the top side for Zeus Gaming.
They will. A couple of kills coming back into the favor of Zeus. Also defense of the red buff, making sure that Rosethorn just gets to walk that away. It looks like it was just taken by Rosethorn. And as you said, that Rift Herald on top side could be used to just crack a couple of towers here. It is a race. I think bottom side the tower is also going to be here. I'm curious what that looks like in terms of health, because this should be the first tower taken down.
Yeah, you want to try and get some of that gold back. You want to try to find some of those advantages as the Rift Herald charge is going to do it. A couple more slabs from Alorm, and that will be first tower going over to Zeus Gaming.
As impressive as the gold elite is, and as cool as it is that Rift Herald just did that was the shortest dash I think I've ever seen for a Rift Herald. It's like all.
Well, now you get a long one, all right? Now you get a second long one. All right?
That's much better, yes. And bottom lane, I don't think a tower was taken in exchange. It was just a couple of plates that were coming over to the side of Prismal. So you have the Duskblade now completed after the back, as Raheen and Rhino had to soak at least a little bit of pressure right there. There's only 2 plates. Wow, that's kind of low for what I would have expected. They were able to get the entire top lane tower, and they were able to get a crash onto the top inner tower. So maybe this is where Alorm can start to move out on the map if they got a massively long lane here that the Gnar is going to have to deal with.
I think that's the most important part for me, is getting Alorm enabled to make those team calls, to make those trigger pulls, at least for Zeus Gaming, which has been so integral to how they win games. And now you've got to be really careful about what GGA want to do, right? They've got Chime roaming. They've got a lot of pressure in the bot lane, which enables Chime to be effective around the map. And Yunbi has been being nothing but wonderful in this mid lane, having a CS differential, having a lot of priority in the lane, and especially at least integration in the rest of the team composition.
RBM has been focusing, I think, more on both A, farming, but also, more importantly, I think putting just effort into some of the neutral objectives and into the side lanes. And so hasn't been putting a bunch of effort into making sure that the Qiyana has everything that she needs, especially in burning resources. The flash down from Yunbi means there is kill potential here from side of Darkwings, but this is needed very, very early into the game to make sure that the Qiyana can roam. Lethality should be done relatively soon, though, as it should be the Prowler's Claw that comes out for the likes of this Qiyana to be able to get into fights relatively quickly. Could also get Duskblade for that invisibility, but until that item's done, Orianna's got more than enough pressure, especially when she finishes that Ludens, to be able to trade against and to be able to outpush what the Qiyana can bring, making it even harder for Darkwings to try to get into some of these side lanes and use this big team fighting ultimate.
Yeah, I think you always, when you draft something like this, you want to see like 3 or 4 kills going over early with Qiyana, because then you just roll the game. But at this point, you've got to be really tapered on how you take those aggressions and where you want to use that supreme display of talent. You've seen they are fine trying to go for the pickouts, trying to commit everything to get a kill here or there. But as it gets further on, as these compositions starts to kind of scale up for GGA, you got to be really careful.
That you do. Bottom side, it looked like there was a bit of hover from Rosethorn. I'm looking where everybody else is going. Qiyana's actually pathing towards bottom side right here.
Body slam, not going to hit the swirl seed, but there's Killer Instinct. Now you got TPs coming in, as it's going to be Yunbi going by Warm. That's a big shockwave, though. Chime gets the re-engagement, and Prismal is taking sniper shot from the back line. That was a double kill for the ADC of GGA. Supreme display of talent is not going to supremely do anything here, as GGA are under tower, are taking it to Zeus Gaming.
It's a flawless TP into an ultimate that comes out from Yunbi that secures this fight, which is going to open up not only bot lane tower to get taken by Tally, also would have opened up Dragon if that were available. So instead, it's just going to be a bunch of gold heading into the side of GGA, as the team fight just is not there yet again. Once again, this is GGA who's able to pull the trigger a lot faster. They find Prismal. The flash is going to get him out of this situation, thankfully, but they find a nice little body slam and ultimate from the Gragas to be able to actually get this one, put him into Raheen. But again, this flash is going to end up saving his life, and now the re-engage Yunbi is the huge one here. This ultimate is so big.
And then the arrow across.
And the arrow, yeah. Everything together from the side of GGA is enough. And then here comes Rosethorn, who's so strong. Darkwings tries to get something. He's able to get one traded with this ultimate that goes over to the side of Raheen. But now they're under tower. There's too much range on the side of GGA, and there's more than enough members here for them to actually complete this dive. So just a full team ace from the side of GGA, who now claim complete control of this game. It is only one objective in. It's a 3,000 gold lead, but that 3,000 gold lead is big for one to contest against some of these neutral objectives, and it makes it so much easier for GGA to do so.
And, like, you've got a 4-0 lethality Varus here. And it won't matter that much if Chime gets taken out here, but there's the Chains of Corruption to follow it up, as Prismal could find another one. Flash from RBM is going to get him away, but they at least are able to take down Chime, and Zeus Gaming have found something back in this game.
You think about the amount of damage that's had in a couple of different members. Again, the late game scaling for damage here from GGA is lower without this on-hit Varus and instead with the lethality Varus. But what you do get is a ton of early damage, as you saw that arrow did so much with the lethality. He's able to hit 3 targets probably for the majority of their health bar, if not 4, depending on what Rhino decides to build here. So that's 4 targets that if you hit with an arrow will be chunked for half of their health bar, or you can execute from half their health bar. Right there from Raheen, that's a quarter of his health bar gone with 1 item completed, as Yunbi also can't find RBM with that shockwave.
And Rosethorn was ready to go. He wanted to come into that fight if they caught out RBM, but RBM too quick, gets away from the shockwave, and Yunbi gonna have to wait another day for that engage there. But we do have a dragon up on the rift, and all of Zeus Gaming are here to claim this objective. As the blue trinket comes out from GGA, they are moving into this fight, but the dragon's already almost down, and if they want to take this fight, you have Tally on the Meganar coming down. Might need to be careful here, as the dragon's smited away by Rosethorn. Supreme display of talent, and Raheen gets a kill on the backside of the fight onto Prismal, but you still have the 1v1 turning into the 2v1. Tally is going to take down Rhino. Raheen falls to the rest of GGA, and Rosethorn gets that kill. Tally dies, but it's still an objective claim, a fight claim for GGA.
Man, I do not know what is up with RBM, because right there, you saw no smite available. They didn't communicate that. They didn't pull off damage fast enough. It was just Rosethorn literally walked into the pit, and yes, maybe they're playing for the fight more than they're playing for anything else, but that also doesn't go their way. Yeah, they get 1 kill onto Kai'Sa, but it means nothing because all of this pressure from GGA is continuing to mount as they pull a second dragon. They still have what is effectively a 4,000 gold lead up to this point. It is insane how much they're losing. I don't know how this even happened. I gotta watch what happened with Rosethorn. Yeah, Rosethorn just walks in and just
Rosethorn just Conor McGregor walking into the fight. At least didn't even have to pop the Ragnarok until he gets into the fight with Raheen. And after this, you've completely split Zeus.
Yes, you have. And you saw the ult into the back of the fight from the side of Raheen right there, where you were able to get 1 kill traded in exchange for your Qiyana. But that's not valuable, because in the middle of the fight, you lose another member, and in the back line, you end up losing your Gragas as well. So 3 members fall for the side of Zeus, and the Dragon for what? 1 kill traded onto your Kai'Sa? It's just not enough. This is not the Zeus that we were going to be expecting in this game. That's a nice barrel.
This might be it, though. Prismo beautifully flashes away, and now Rhino is caught. Rhino is dead. That is a 6-1 Varus on Prismal, and you have to realize that.
Yeah, this early game damage is completely here. You talk about like Stride Breaker as well as like Black Cleaver or even Sterix Gauge coming out from the Olaf. You're talking about the like Shockwave that's going to come through as well. You think about this Lethality Varus. There's nobody that can't take a bunch of damage from the side of GGA as Rosethorn's just kind of 1v2ing right now. It looks like maybe that's going to die.
Alorm is just going to casually go on a killing spree here. 5-2 on the Scion, and really good call from Zeus Gaming to capitalize on Rosethorn's overextension.
That they will. They find something. Rift Herald's also available if they want to end up taking that one, but the comfort level just isn't here from the side of Zeus so far. As again, they can just continue to take damage from this team who's got so much in the mid game between the likes of the Olaf, who's on 4, 3, and 4, matched in farm with the side of RBM, and Prismal, like we said, 166, the guy we highlighted at the beginning of the day, being the recipient of all these resources, doing some incredible work on this Lethality Varus. Actually get themselves moving into mid-game as they're moving into the jungle. They're waiting for Rosethorn, but they're going to contest this Rift Herald take.
I would want to see as Zeus wants to be in here, but yeah, that's just the Rift Herald picked up by no jungler on the side of GGA, but the trio from them as well, as they are going to get that objective right before the Baron spawns. Could be looking at mid lane as they're going to take this outer tower as well, and still having the Rift Herald available to them.
They will. Able to use it in any lane they want. They could just set up around the 3rd dragon that's going to be spawning here in about 2 minutes, and if they do so, it is a little bit of a waste of the Rift Herald, as it doesn't mean that they actually get a bunch of damage with it, but the thing that it does force is that it's got to be a response, because otherwise you do lose a tower on the side of Zeus, and you're trading that with the ability to actually contest the dragon. So I'm not sure whether they feel as though they can do that, whether that's something on the cards for them. I feel like at this point they probably cannot take a fight. They have to wait at least for a little longer for trying to get scaling to come through, like Collector maybe to come out for the likes of the Kai'Sa before this next dragon, but even that probably doesn't feel good enough. So maybe this is the opportunity to try to just force them to use this Rift Herald without getting much with it, and giving a dragon you might already have to give over in an attempt to get some scaling into this game for your Kai'Sa, for your Qiyana.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is just trying to find those advantages in the ways that you can, and trying to find, the fact of the matter that you need to get these pieces going. You need to get Darkwing some gold. You need to get this Qiyana ahead in some fashion, and you're seeing Raheen's already poked out of the fight here.
Absolutely. It doesn't take much to poke out Raheen from the fight. Unfortunately, no armor, especially against Lethality Varus, means 1, maybe 2 arrows maximum is all that it takes in order to actually put somebody in the dirt very, very quickly with this champion. As 45 seconds till the dragon reset had only just come through. Tally's in the top lane with this Gnar pick, with TP readily available to come to bottom side, as they're clearing mid wave, but they're also kind of creeping up towards Baron. I'm curious if they're willing to just trade this off, because they easily go. Actually, their DPS is a bit low without like everybody being there, so they're just going to walk down into the river, take this as 4 members. And I think if you're the side of Zeus, you just got to give this one, unfortunately, because if you try to fight for it, this might just be the execution that kills you in this early game.
I think that's the biggest thing right now for me. And when you've got this objective control already for GGA, you've got to force yourself into those fights for Zeus Gaming. You got 10 seconds until GGA could just go on to Dragon Soul Point. And that's never a position you want to be in when you're kind of lagging behind a little bit in the item department, in the fighting department. As TP coming in from the captain, Alorm wants it, as they want to try to position for this fight. You've got to be careful, though, as we set up. The Rift Herald's going mid lane, and Tally is staying. So they feel fine with this fight.
But the
They've got killer instinct there, but Yunbi goes golden. Darkwing's on the other side looking for it. There's a supreme display of talent. Gets 2 stuns, but Prismal is still tanky. Prismal is still alive. There's the re-engage for Chime, and GGA are finding the fight. They're finding everything they could use, but Alorum is going to slam one back home for Zeus as Raheen goes down to a double kill, and Alorum just going to be caught out here. Flashes over the wall. GGA are stomping the series home.
And all that it takes right there is one lost fight. Zeus bid everything. They throw everything. They bet the whole farm on this exact play as the TP comes through from the likes of Alarim and also the flank deep from Rhino to try to combine a bunch of this CC. And then you get at least your first probably pretty decent supreme display of talent from Darkwings, but it doesn't matter as now GGA, they pull third dragon. They get the fight win. They get mid inhibitor tower brought down to very low health. As you'll see again, they get this flank from Rhino at the top your screen combined with Alorum. They look to engage on the front line, try to find something onto Yunbi, and they just are not able to very
the damage
easily
just isn't
with
there.
The ultimate. They don't find much at this particular case. So now watch Darkwings, who finds a flank onto Prismal, is able to get a
there's no
decent
damage.
combo. Yeah, there's nothing there. They just don't have the gold necessary for it. And yeah, if Raheen's able to get onto that backline, find Prismal, maybe you have a chance. But look, Prismal and Yunbi are completely out of the fight. That's 2 of your damage dealers. It's just Rosethorn running down every other member until Raheen just gets pushed into the tower. Like, what are you supposed to do? It's just a wallet hit from the side of Golden Guardians, who now are going to be able to force Soul Point. They're able to pull everything off the map. They can just walk down mid lane if you try to, play some mind games, you try to call a bluff or something, and just take that mid inhibitor with the tanks that they've got. Everything comes back to the side of GGA right now.
Yeah, it's looking really, really good. You do get Darkwings taking his solo tower on the bot side of the map, able to get a second one for Zeus Gaming. But look at GGA. They're positioning around this Baron. They're just making sure that if they can call it, if they can turn and take this objective, they have all the right to do so. And I think that's so important in how Zeus Gaming are trying to approach this mid to late game at least, because again, you just don't have the damage on the carries that you need to have the damage on.
And even worse is, like, their damage isn't particularly good against the likes of the Baron on the side of GGA, but they're so far ahead that they can spike it down pretty fast.
Yeah.
And even more importantly, they have multiple ways to turn. When you talk about, like, if Tally goes into Meganar, if you've got Ultimate coming up for the likes of the Varus, Chime has been incredible in the rel for both of these games, and through most of what has been the Proving Grounds, actually been an exceptional performer on the champion. They have ways to turn off the Baron. They don't even care about the actual objective. They just go for the fight, which is something that they've been accustomed to, is fighting around these neutral objectives has been a key identity for this team, especially in setting them up, is now trying to get some mid priority, looking on a
Building
Prismal
lullaby.
here.
They find Raheen, or Raheen goes in. There's the Wombo combo. Supreme display of talent, though. They found the fight, but can they follow it up? You've still got to deal with Yunbi. You've still got to deal with Tally. You've still got to deal with Rosethorn, and they can't handle it, Rebel, as Rhino goes in for the final kill there. He can find some more. Yunbi goes golden, but he goes down. RBM still alive, but Tally finishes the fight. It is a 5-for-4 ace for GGA.
I gotta be honest, I think if you're Zeus, you're gonna take that all day. You might lose mid inhibitor tower here. I think Tally could just walk it up mid lane and not worry about it. Maybe even take inhibitor, but they have Raheen coming up in only a couple of seconds. But that's about as good as you're gonna get in terms of what damage you've got. So they do just influx themselves with a bunch of gold as the play is immediately onto Prismal. They find the Scion ultimate, gets blocked, but Raheen gets into the backline. Were it not for this phenomenal shockwave, this fight probably looks completely different from GGA, as Yunbi, another hero ultimate, is able to turn things back around. And yes, you get good enough damage. Rosethorn's going to end up going down on the end of this one, as well as Yunbi, as the heroics from RBM is he saves the fight on the opposite end. It would have been a 3-for-5 otherwise. Really good stuff from a couple of these members. But again, this setup is about as good as you could possibly ask for. So you got to use this gold and find probably 2 or 3 more of those if you're on the side of Zeus, just to begin competing in this game.
And the other thing, we can talk about the one fight going over, Zeus finding some advantages in some aspect. I mean, they got in 14 kills, right? You're a minute and 20 seconds away from a Mountain Soul for GGA. That is not the setup you want to be in. That's going to mean that Darkwings doesn't have that potential burst to start off the fights. You've got to be careful at how you engage those fights. And you've got to set yourself up to put up a fight against this objective tape.
At least they were able to find it once. If they found it once, maybe they have the confidence now to be able to do it again. They do have this massive Scion who's sitting on 3 items. Shockwave's
No shockwave.
down Yunbi. That's huge. There's only seconds. There's only a minute. It's not going to be up until then. That's actually a huge loss. Maybe GGA was fishing with it, but I don't know that they can actually win a pure fight, especially if Zeus gets the right setup.
And honestly, at this point, for GGA, if you pull that trigger, you don't find it, I feel like you're in a position to say that's okay. Because if they do find it, that's a game changer. That's a game winner. But if they don't, it's only one dragon to Zeus. And that's what you got to think about in this situation.
Shockwave also is almost back up. I thought,
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Is
like
not level 16, not necessarily a bunch of ability haste, or at least a ton of ability haste here. But it is going to be up for this next fight. Doesn't matter. So Yunbi, you caught me off guard right there. I didn't think they were going to have it, but there they are.
Oh, Rosethorn on the back. They've got to be really careful here. Rosethorn not going to get the angle he wanted. But immediately, Zeus are pushed out of everything that they gained in this bottom jungle.
They are. Teleport from Sion. They're looking for the play here. They want to fight yet again. It's a team that's just kind of thrown everything at the wall.
Oh, no. They've gotten caught. There's that Shockwave Rebel as RBM goes gold and gets executed by Prismal. And now the re-engage. Darkwing goes in. But again, not having the damage is the biggest factor. Raheem's getting 1v1 by Prismal, but they found him. They've gotten Prismal. Raheem gets the kill, but can they get anything else? As the fight could continue by GGA. Tally is on the Lorem, but they are just wet noodle fighting on the bottom of this map. And a huge pickup of kills for Zeus, but even bigger for the side of GGA, who now get a free, or at least Mountain Soul.
I don't think it's unplayable. Like you said, the burst that can come out of Darkwings is definitely the top is taking off it. All of the damage that would come through from like Sion or Rhino is also gone. So they're really going to have to rely on Raheen and RBM doing a lot more work. But here we go. We actually get a chance to see this. This was a solid invade attempt by GGA. They weren't able to find anything off the start. And RBM ends up getting caught out right here. Darkwings is able to use this Umbral Glaive to clear the ward. As you step up, I thought potentially the play was here as they were looking for it. But RBM ends up just getting caught in this lapse of vision, unfortunately, and that Shockwave had only been used like 60 seconds prior is going to be the death of him. And Darkwings tries to find a great ultimate, but the Zonius from Yunbi protects him. If he doesn't press that, it's nothing, as Raheem doesn't get 1v1 quite by Prismal, and Darkwings finds a way around to help support him. But at this point, there's no jungler, your damage is way too low, you don't have the cooldowns readily available, there's nothing left, you just take the dragon and you're done from the side of GGA, as Mountain Soul is going to give them a better advantage in these fights. If you thought fights were hard for Zeus already, they just got a ton worse.
And I have to give props to the heads-upness by Raheen and Darkwings, you know, realizing that Prismal is overextended, is not with the team, and they circle back around with the killer instinct, with the movement of Darkwings to get that kill. And in the grand scheme of things, maybe it doesn't mean a lot, but it shows that the fight is still there for Zeus Gaming.
Do notice, if you will, there is still 3.5 items. It feels like the shutdown gold has been farmed by Raheen pretty exceptionally here in the later stages of the game. So sitting on 3.5 items is actually even higher than what Prismal has. Okay,
that's going to be a pretty big cooldown for the Lilting Lullaby used by Zeus. So they don't really have that for RBM to set up anything here. And honestly, it feels like GGA have the momentum in this one. They kind of pushing forward. Tally's about to have Meganar as Yunbi's following it up. You have, unfortunately, Prismal's a little bit far away from the fight, but look, they just get the priority in mid lane. And they're picking on the Baron.
Yeah. And again, they don't really care about the Baron necessarily. They could use this to siege when they've got this Varus and this Orianna to work with, as well as a Meganar. But honestly, they're probably just better off looking for the fight. And if they look for the fight, there's no chance of a 50-50 by RBM or anybody else. So this is what I would be doing if I were them. If I were on the side of GGA, I wouldn't be looking for this damage output from Prismal. I'd be looking for the turn instead, as they have a number of champions who are really good at it. Keep your eye of Chime, because he is really far wide on the flank.
Yeah, they do have Darkwings over here on the flank as well. Bit of one-sided, though. Alarm's already going down. Unstoppable from Rosethorn's going to be in the back line here, as already one member has fallen. You've got the shutdown for Raheen, though. But look at the damage. Look at the carry potential of Tally, who just singles out Raheen in the middle of the fight. And now he's going in on RBM, too, because he don't care, as he is still the Meganar. They don't do the Baron, but they still take the fight.
They do. Oh, last Q does not hit. E does hit from RBM, as he's going to try to salvage this. I don't think they can necessarily play the Baron right here, as it is just the fight. 2 members brought down for the side of GGA. Darkwings is way behind this team right now, so if you get a perfect flank, maybe you could look for a play. But Chime has been on his trail for the last couple of minutes, waiting to try to find where exactly that this Kiana had walked to. He just saw him.
See the Rel versus Kiana 1v1 here, but it's going to be joined by Yunbi. Look at the speed coming in. Darkwing needs to be really careful. Take the tight corner here to make sure to get out. Needs to be careful, though. Supreme Display of Talent comes in for Chime, but you've got to be worried about the Shockwave. It goes out. Darkwings expertly gets away from it. Yunbi going a bit wide with it, but now he's still in this 2v1, and the kill is going to go over to Chime as Darkwings gets taken out.
all props to Chime right now, tracking him for so long, and then Yunbi, he burns the ultimate, which is painful around this Baron. Maybe it's one thing that could dissuade them from taking this one, but I don't think it's gonna matter too much, as they're willing to just auto-attack this to death. There's maybe some semblance of challenge. No Shockwave means the Orion is much less valuable, but they gotta get the pit right now if they want to try for it. This is the last ditch play.
Calls the fight. There's the Baron at 4,000. RBM on the backside. Lorm is the distraction, but they haven't turned on the Baron. They're turning onto Lorm, and Lorm is down. Maybe? Rampage there, but the Lilting Lullaby is going to be huge. No. RBM is still in the back of the fight, hasn't been integral at all besides that Lilting Lullaby. Now he gets Meganar ultied into the wall, and he's just going to go down. There's no jungler left for GGA, or at least for Zeus Gaming, as they can't take the Baron fight. Raheem's getting taken out by Rosethorn, and that is it. GGA take the objective.
Some of the meanest team fighting I've seen for GGA all season. Academy, Scouting Grounds, North Arena, anything coming out in this game. As they're snagging this Baron, that is a massive lead. 10,000 gold with the Mountain Soul is all that they need to win this game. This was, again, a last-ditch effort here from the side of Zeus Gaming as they look for something, but Alorum just gets absolutely battered down. Raheem's the only one who can really put in damage, but he's completely zoned out of the fight. RBM gets that good sleep, but Tally's able to challenge the opposite side. Rhino's going to try to go in and get a disrupt, but the exhaust does nothing, and he's only a support as Raheem tries to get Yunbi, but Chime's immediately ready. Their target selection is gorgeous, member to member to member, and yeah, you trade for Rosethorn, but it means nothing as they just have the consistent damage to take everything else in this game. As GGA, they transition from being the super late game team to playing early, and they have come out and smashed Zeus in these two games.
10,000 gold lead. The carries have the gold. Prismal and Yunbi picking up the slack in the damage potential of the team. And I just love to see everybody moving forward. Everybody calling the shots. Tally's going in those aggressive plays. He's trying to get those engagements. They do not care that this could be knocking out Zeus. They want to knock out Zeus.
Absolutely. It keeps them alive, and it lets them play against 100 Thieves next week if this is going to be the end. And it's unfortunate for Zeus. We talked about how good of a team they are and how long they've taken to develop, and how just how amazing they were being able to qualify to UGP. But it does not matter, as Golden Guardians are saying absolutely not. We have developed more. Our players are better, and we're just going to end up taking this fight. Darkwings is really deep in this territory right now.
You can't get caught like that. You get the full engage from Zeus. They need to find something. They're desperate here, but they don't find anything. Yumbi goes golden. Do they want to continue the fight? This is an outman fight, but Rahin is all by himself trying to take down Chime.
That's
and he's just going to die to the shockwave of Yumbi.
Elder Drake's going to get taken by this team. There is no competition left. Prismo even has Guardian Angel. There's no chance they're able to sail this. Even if Rhino gets a good barrel, I doubt that they're going to be able to push it through Rosethorn, as there's too many members in the way. And I think this is just going to be the game. Tally's going to get this Elder Soul. He's going to be able to kill Alarim in this side lane as everybody else get collapsed. The best they can do is try to kill off the Gnar and hope that that's going to be enough for them to be able to push off this Elder Drake, try to survive for one more fight. But I don't even think that's the case, Mizzell. Darkwings is coming back up. No Supreme Display of Talent. 20 seconds on your only damage dealer in Raheen, and I'm thinking right now that GGA is just going to take the series right here, right now.
Zeus up against the ropes. Only a couple buildings left to stand between them being eliminated from the Proving Grounds Rebel. This could just be it. Zeus Gaming going out whole-handedly to GGA. They've just got time to spend here. One Nexus Tower down. GGA have officially scaled into the late game here, as we see a couple members left getting taken down, and Zeus Gaming will bow out of the Proving Grounds to the hands of GGA.
What a performance from GGA, man. This is the 9th place Academy team, and they are dominating one of the best amateur teams. We've seen competition before. We saw against C9 how competitive that this team could be, yet GGA come out and they smash them in this series. Fantastic stuff. Completely different look. Every player performing at an absolute peak level. GGA looked unstoppable.
I just got to reiterate that. Every single piece for GGA is looking so good. You have everybody performing, everybody mechanically performing, but also as a team, the calls, the macro movements, the rotations, the objective calls, it all comes together to culminate in such beautiful League of Legends for GGA. As you said, that 9th seed, not being the runners that we think they're going to be, and nonetheless are able to try and make this run through the lower bracket.
It felt like that series was a whole bunch of GGA never being surprised by anything Zeus had.
Yeah.
They were ready for every single thing. Doesn't matter if it was an individual play, doesn't matter if it was a team fight setup, doesn't matter if it was a rotation. Every single second GGA read this team like a book, and it's unfortunate that that's the way that Zeus goes out with a whisper, unfortunately, here in the Proving Grounds, is we had high expectations for this team, but I'm honestly far more proud of GGA's progress as they've been able to turn this around from being one of the lesser known or perhaps like the lesser expectation academy teams coming into this tournament to now arguably being one of the favorites. I think they're going to give a ton of challenge to 100 Thieves. If they play like this, 100 Thieves is going to have their hands more than full.
I mean, those gloves are going to be fighting in that next series, because after what we saw for 100 Thieves Academy today and what we see off of GGA today, like, this is insane to see so much development, so much strength coming out from this team, especially. And I like Prism, my dude, in this second game, taking the game on his back in the early parts and just continuing to press it forward.
I can't give all these players enough praise. I know Rosethorn in the previous season, like Rosethorn, it was not super impressive to me within the scouting ground circuit. Qualified for that scouting grounds through like the challenger ladder, and has developed way beyond anything I would have expected. I am so happy to have been wrong about how good Rosethorn was capable of being within the confines of this series, and I'm even more happy about everybody else. Tally was amazing, one of the best statistical, and you see why, because he was smashing everything against Alorum, who's an absolute tank. And perhaps I think the most impressive player of the series was Chime. Engage after engage after engage, understanding where he needed to be, somehow peeling and engaging at the same time. You're going to see that right here, where he's able to pick up Raheen and find the priority pick right there. Amazing stuff out of this support, who's only a split into his ability to play alongside the rest of these players. This team has come so far, and they're honestly stealing my heart right now as one of the favorites.
And I gotta say that it's been a fun one here today, but we're gonna get to hear from GGA. We got Tally coming in for the Verizon post-game interview. Tally, my dude, a quick 2-0, an easy night for you guys. How's it feeling?
I mean, it is what it is. It feels really good. I think we had a really good game plan going in against Zeus, and I think that like everything went exactly how we expected it to go. So it was just like as soon as we got in game, everyone was comfortable, and it was just good going from there.
Yeah, I gotta say, it was incredible to say the least. Just being able to take that first game so handedly, and as a team more so. I guess that's the big thing for me that stuck out here. It wasn't just one of you guys performing, right? It was the entire team for both games. And when you're looking at those movements around the map, especially in the early games, where we know you guys to be a little bit later of a game, a team where you're trying to focus around maybe not taking some of those early objectives, this series didn't matter. You didn't care about that. You went for those early objectives. So was there a difference in mindset coming into this series that you guys were maybe trying to grasp?
I think it's just due to how like the lanes were playing out, that like we got a lot of pushing lanes in both games, and the fact that we got Olaf, who's like such a strong early game champion. Like I just told Tim that like I think you should just pick Olaf. I think you're going to carry this game if you're feeling comfortable. So like taking those early skirmishes on champions that we have and the amount of control we had in the early game was just really easy.
I'm gonna take the question a little bit different, as I did in the first series as well. You were coming out of the OPL as a very high touted player because you were amazing. You were into Worlds, everything like that. This is a team of relatively young players around you, right? Like, have you had a lot more of a hand in some of the development that's been coming through? Because you guys obviously you got ninth, and the academy split wasn't that impressive, but you guys have been absolutely smashing the back half, and that game was indicative of your performance. I got to know the secret sauce and whether you're a part of it or not.
I wouldn't take too much credit because this is definitely a first for me. I haven't really been in the veteran position before. So like I would give it definitely to the coaching staff. I think that as soon as we picked up our new coaching staff, I think they like the ability that they have to like lead rookie players has been very good. I think everyone's comfortable and able to express like how they're feeling and what they want to do. Like I am personally still learning like how to like help people improve, because I've been not a veteran before. I've been like on a team of peers. So it's a new position for me, yeah.
Gotcha.
I love to hear it, man. It's something new for you. It looks to be fitting you pretty well here as a team, because those performances were amazing. Now, you got to look forward a little bit. I know it's nice to dwell on the win, dwell on the series domination from GGA. You've got 100 Thieves Academy waiting for you in that next round. You have anything to say to Tenacity, to the team in general?
I mean, I was actually pretty glad that 100 Thieves won. I thought IMT was a very scary team. So now that they're gone, like I think it's pretty smooth sailing for us.
No.
Honestly.
Hey, I love to hear it. Tenacity, if you're listening, you better be rared up and ready to go for that next series. But last little thing, I want to see if you have any shout outs for anybody that particularly has stood out to you in the squad, in the team, in the program, at least, that you want to give a little shout out to.
I think today definitely goes to our bot lane. I think they definitely shown like how much they've improved. I think especially today they took more of a leadership role. I didn't really have anything I had to do that game. I was just sitting back in these last few minions for the past 2 hours. So like I'm really glad that they're comfortable and they're able to step up.
Hey, I love to hear it. Tally, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing so much more of you guys, and especially with those performances, you no doubt are going to have a run. We'll see what happens, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Rebel, that is it for our post-game interview presented by Verizon. But now we get a look at where we stand in the proving grounds as we have made it to this round 3 of elimination, this lower bracket. And it's going to be TSM-A versus FlyQuest Academy, and then 100 Thieves Academy versus GGA. We've got a lot of Academy teams here.
Yes. So 2 things. I like FlyQuest still will not play an amateur team until they hit either EGP or no org or whoever it is on the backside of the bracket. And the other thing is TSM gets denied the possibility of the Zeus reunion match where they got put out in the first round and then had to fight their way back. So that's going to go. But our teams now are incredible. You talk about how much TSM has grown. FlyQuest has been a fantastic late game champion. 100 Thieves has had a bunch of young players. GG in the exact same way. A lot of these teams are built off the back of young players who are coming back in. It feels like TSM FlyQuest are more experienced players like Haunter, players like Triple as well, whereas this 100 Thieves GG is the next generation where you talk about people like Chime, talk about people like Tenacity on these 2 teams, and we're going to get a chance to see them play up against some of the losers from that topside bracket. These teams in competition are bound to be some exciting games as the week continues, and to get to see where that's going to go. You think C9 versus EG is going to deliver a fantastic series, EGP versus No Work, and the losers, their work's going to be cut out for them with who wins these last 2 series in this round 3 in the bottom bracket.
Yeah, I mean, those lower bracket teams are waiting, chomping at the bit to get up to these teams, to fight up against these top teams, these guys who have been looking so good, but 2 of them rather, have to fall to that losers bracket. Rebel, it has been an absolute blast to cast these series. A little sad we didn't go double game 3s, but GGA are just too damn good as we're going to be closing it out for the night. Have to say thank you to the audience, for everybody for tuning in. You've got to tune in tomorrow, though, because we have Evil Geniuses Academy taking on C9 Academy, just like what we saw up there on the upper bracket, and that No Org versus Evil Genius Prodigies matchup coming at you at 3 p.m. in Pacific. So thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you to the production for the behind-the-scenes action, and we'll see you next time on Summoner's Rift.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as Discovery Plus, with a Galaxy S21 plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.